Chapter 1602. Alright, since everyone agrees, then I'll talk about the rules and how to play the game. Gao Xiaofu nodded and said, currently we have graduated from high school and are heading to university. We are all adults, but many of our classmates have not tasted the taste of love. So, for the sake of our future love, the game we are playing today is called Safe Kiss. Safe Kiss? Some students knew about this game and immediately cheered excitedly. Yes, it's Safe Kiss. I believe everyone has seen similar games in novels and TV dramas. Some variety shows often have such games too. Gao Xiaofu explained, it's two people kissing through a layer of plastic wrap or glass. This way, everyone can experience the exciting feeling of love without losing out to each other. What do you think? Okay. The boys were the first to agree. In fact, most of the boys had a goddess in their hearts. It was just that because of the college entrance examination, they didn't confess and didn't develop. But now that they had graduated, they didn't have to be so nervous about their studies anymore. Everyone's minds were more active. If they could kiss their favorite goddess, it would be a very refreshing thing. However, the girls were a little shy. After all, most girls were still very conservative. This kind of safe kiss game was really a little too bold. Gao Xiaofu naturally saw all of this, so he began to make a fuss again. This kind of safe kiss is often seen on variety shows on TV. Those celebrities even play with their fans. Look at that pure jade girl, celebrity. What's her name? Didn't she play Safe Kiss with her fans before? This safe kiss is called Safe Kiss because it's very safe. It won't let anyone lose out to each other. Moreover, everyone drew lots to decide who would be the winner. It's absolutely fair and just. It had to be said that Gao Xiaofu was very good at making a fuss. Moreover, everyone had more or less drunk a little. They were a little hot-headed. The girls also thought about it. Yes, it's just kissing through glass or plastic wrap. They won't lose out to each other. However, there were still some girls who were hesitant. This was because they already had some ambiguous feelings with some of the boys in their class. Although they didn't make their relationship clear, they had some feelings for each other. At this time, if he played a safe kiss with someone else, although it wasn't a big deal, it wouldn't be fun if the other party got jealous. Upon hearing the whispers of the people below, Gao Xiaofu was quick-witted and quickly said, write the girls' names as tags and let the boys draw lots. Between the boys who drew lots, they can also choose to exchange. If they are a couple, they can't steal each other's love, right? Gao Xiaofu's words dispelled the last of the girls' doubts. If they could be swapped, then things would be much easier. Although the couple in the class didn't make it clear, everyone knew what was going on. No one would interfere. Wouldn't that make everyone uncomfortable? Moreover, both boys and girls are welcome. Therefore, under Gao Xiaofu's persuasion, most of the students agreed. Meng Yao, on the other hand, frowned. What kind of ridiculous game is this? I don't want to play. Shu, let's not participate. Don't Yao Yao. What if Shield Bro draws us? Yushu didn't want to give up this chance to have fun. Meng Yao wanted to reject it, but after hearing Yushu's words she didn't know why, but she didn't want to reject it anymore. She hesitated, but didn't say anything against it. Pinliang and Xiaofu started making paper slips, preparing to let everyone draw lots. When you're making Meng Yao's tag later, make a slip with a corner missing. That way I'll be able to draw it. Pinliang still hadn't given up on Meng Yao. He saw that Lin Yi wasn't able to take advantage of him, and now he was getting excited. He'd been holding it in for too long, and now he was ready to explode. Through his conversation with Lin Yi, it seemed like Lin Yi was quite wary of Zhang Naipeo's rebirth, and so he grew bolder. Plus, this was a group activity and he was following the rules. Even if Lin Yi wasn't happy about it, he wouldn't do anything to him. If he did, people would think that he was a sore loser. Lin Yi was only one step away from Earth class, and his eyes and ears were sharper than before. Pinliang had lowered his voice, but Lin Yi heard him clearly. This was the advantage of a practitioner, and it was also why a sky class like Bingtang could stand on top of a snowy mountain and control the whole situation. There were only 30 or so people here, and there were only a dozen or so girls, so it didn't take long for the lots to be drawn. Xiaofu placed the lot in a box and whispered to Pinliang, Liang bro, I put Meng Yao's tag on the corner of the box and didn't tear off a corner. It'd be too obvious. And not bad, you're quite smart. Pinliang nodded approvingly. This way no one would suspect anything, and normal people wouldn't be able to get Meng Yao's tag. Who would feel around the corners of a box? However, this sentence was heard clearly by Lin Yi, who wasn't far away. Now let's draw lots. We have fewer boys and more girls, so there must be some girls who didn't get picked. But it's okay, those who didn't get picked, you can choose who you want to play with. Of course, you can also forfeit. Xiaofu said. Now let's draw lots. The boys were eager to try, and as soon as Xiaofu finished speaking, they ran over excitedly to draw lots. Some of the boys with girls they liked started praying in their hearts, hoping to get the girl they liked. The girls, on the other hand, were thinking about their Prince Charming. While they were drawing lots, Pinliang took out the plastic wrap he had prepared beforehand and distributed it to the girls one by one. It was made very specially. The frame was square and there was a fixed handle at the bottom. The plastic wrap was placed on the frame, forming a barrier. When using it, the girl only needed to hold this thing in front of her mouth. They didn't have to worry about being taken advantage of. Mengyao and Yushu got one each. Mengyao wasn't interested, but Yushu was curious about the structure of the thing, trying to see if she could break it. Lin Yi wasn't very interested in games like this, but in order to prevent Mengyao and Yushu from being taken advantage of, Lin Yi had to do it himself. Chapter 1603. See for yourself, boss, are you confident? Kang Xiaobo had a girlfriend and wasn't very interested in this game. What confidence? Mengyao and Yushu? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, I secretly checked for you before. Yushu's tag is shorter than normal. It's the last one and there's no cover left. We'll be able to tell if we compare it. But Mingyao's tag is no different, Kang Xiaobo said quietly. Not bad, kid. You know how to be a spy now. Lin Yi smiled. How about this, you can take out Shu's tag later. Is that okay? No way. I wouldn't dare. Kang Xiaobo shook his head. Shu would definitely be Lin Yi's woman in the future, and Kang Xiaobo's sister-in-law. Even if she wasn't, he had a girlfriend already. Wouldn't Xiaofan be furious if she knew? So, naturally, Kang Xiaobo rejected Lin Yi's suggestion. Can I pick someone else? Why don't you just appoint me then? Lin Yi smiled. That's true. Kang Xiaobo's eyes lit up. All right, boss, leave it to me. I'll definitely complete the mission. The boys who had drawn their lots were all hiding and cautiously running to the side to look at their lots. Those who had drawn their favorite goddess were naturally beaming with joy. However, those who didn't draw their favorite goddess were naturally frowning at this moment, thinking about who to swap with. The unluckiest ones were those who didn't have a goddess they liked, but they just had to draw the tag of a girl they didn't like. It was really frustrating. Of course, there were also those who drew the ugly girl's tag. Holy Hall. When it was Lin Yi's turn, Lin Yi put his hand into the box and found a tag in the corner according to Gao Xiaofu's instructions. Lin Yi squeezed it in his hand and put another tag in the box. After Lin Yi, it was Kang Xiaobo's turn. Kang Xiaobo searched the box for a long time and finally found the missing tag. Luckily, both of them drew it early. If someone else drew it, Lin Yi would have to take it by force. But then again, even if Yushu's tag fell into someone else's hands, no one would dare to not return it to Lin Yi. They were afraid of Yushu, but they were also afraid of Lin Yi. Boss, mission completed. Kang Xiaobo said to Lin Yi happily. Not bad. Lin Yi nodded and walked towards Mengyao and Yushu. How was it, Shield Bro? Did you draw Shu? Yushu asked impatiently. Holy Hall. Lin Yi smiled and passed the tag to Yushu. Yushu saw Lin Yi's movements, thinking that she was the one he drew. She was very happy, but when she saw the name on the tag she was disappointed but still happy. Yao Yao, it's you. Is that so? Mengyao felt an inexplicable surge of excitement in her heart, but on the surface she kept her cool. It's all right, at least it's better than a stranger. Lin Yi smiled and didn't reply. Yushu, on the other hand, looked around and wanted to see who drew her tag. She was going to ask that person to choose Lin Yi. Otherwise, Yushu wouldn't let him have it easy. Let someone else kiss him? What a joke. What are you looking for? Lin Yi asked, amused. I'm looking to see who drew my tag, Yushu said. Yours is with Kang Xiaobo, Lin Yi smiled. Yushu blinked, understanding what Lin Yi meant. She smiled happily. Okay, so he'll pick you, right? Probably, Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Oh. Yushu was happy. I've tried kissing Shield Bro, but I've never tried a safe kiss like this before. Yushu's words made Lin Yi sweat. Kissing directly? That was mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, all right? In order to show their fairness, Pinliang and Xiaofu were the last two to draw, and Pinliang's tag was the one that Lin Yi put in the corner of the box. Xiaofu's face turned bitter as he looked at the tag in his hand. The one he drew was the second ugliest girl in the class reunion, Zhen Ruhua. Not only was her face fat, but she was also extremely short, even prettier than Ruhua in the movies. Young bro, what do I do? Why am I so unlucky? Xiaofu looked at the tag in his hand and wanted to cry. Pinliang couldn't help but laugh when he saw Xiaofu's tag. You're too smart for your own good. You prepared a tag for me, why didn't you prepare one for yourself? Are you happy now? It wasn't that Xiaofu didn't want to prepare one. He wanted to sneak a tag in his hand and pretend to draw it. But it was summer and everyone was wearing short sleeves. He couldn't hide the tag in his hand. He wasn't a magician, so he had to draw it himself. The reason why he made Yushu's tag shorter was because he wanted to draw it himself and give it to Lin Yi. Xiaofu didn't have a girl he liked in the class, and he was just playing along with Pinliang. It didn't matter if he played or not. But now he had drawn Jinruhua. No matter who he chose, no one could accept it. He had no choice but to do it himself. On the other side, Pinliang was laughing at Xiaofu as he held up his tag. His eyes widened in shock when he saw what it was. The name on the tag in his hand wasn't Mengyao, but the ugliest girl in the class, Mei Ruxian. She was as beautiful as a goddess. Not only was her face full of holes, her eyes and mouth were crooked, and she had a mouth full of yellow teeth. Her breath could be smelled from 10 feet away. Pinliang almost fainted when he thought about how he played the safe kiss with someone like this. Liang bro, what's wrong? Xiaofu paused. He didn't know what was wrong with Pinliang. Xiaofu, Liang bro's tag is for you to complete later. You have to complete it. Pinliang passed the tag to Xiaofu and patted him on the shoulder, his tone serious. Xiaofu paused. Liang bro, aren't you going to kiss Mengyao? See for yourself, Pinliang said. Xiaofu opened the tag Pinliang gave him, a little confused. Chapter 1604. Chapter 1603, Missed Thoughts, but when Xiaofu saw it, his eyes rolled back and he almost fainted. Seriously? God, Earth, one Jinruhua was enough to choke him and now there was another Mei Ruxian? Liang bro. This. Xiaofu was dumbfounded. Sanctuary, I pulled myself out from between the cracks. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Pinliang glared at him. You're reaping what you sow. I can't. I confirmed it a few times. Xiaofu was confused as well. You're the one who made it, so you should bear the consequences yourself. Pinliang said. Xiaofu frowned, but there was nothing he could do. After a few discussions and exchanges between the boys and girls, everyone had found their favorite game partners. Those who were already in love with each other had also found suitable partners. As for those who didn't have anyone they liked, after this matchmaking session, they had a good impression of each other. Perhaps after this game, they would be able to help a lot of couples get together. This meant that Pinliang and Xiaofu had done a great thing. Everyone performed kisses one by one, and although some of them had feelings for each other, they couldn't do anything under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Plus, they hadn't made their relationship clear before, so after a few kisses they shyly separated. Sanctuary, when it was Lin Yi and Yushu's turn, Yushu happily raised the plastic wrap and closed her eyes. She whispered to Lin Yi, Shield bro, you have to be gentle with Shu, okay? This is Shu's first kiss. Lin Yi was speechless. Didn't they say that they'd already had their first kiss? How did it become their first kiss? Was it their first safe kiss? If you had to put it that way, then it was similar. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't kiss Yushu. He only pecked her forehead lightly. All right, it's someone else's turn. That's it? Yushu was a little disappointed. She really wanted to try kissing him on the lips, but he only kissed her forehead. What else do you want? Lin Yi laughed and said, Yu Yunyun and Xiao Xiao's treatment is almost the same. Really? Yushu brightened up at Lin Yi's words. So you didn't kiss them either? Lin Yi didn't answer and Yushu didn't pursue the matter. On the web it was Mingyao's turn. She didn't know why, but her heart was in a mess. She looked at Lin Yi and Shu with anticipation, but also fear. Mingyao was a conservative girl. Her first kiss, first love, and first night were all very important. This was also the reason why she had such a big reaction when she drank the drink that Lin Yi drank. But as she interacted with Lin Yi more, the ambiguous things between the two increased, especially the time when she was poisoned. Lin Yi detoxified her poison and saw her most embarrassing scene. So Mingyao didn't know how she felt about Lin Yi. Was it love? Or was it a habit? Mingyao wasn't sure. Every time she thought about how she said that she didn't like Lin Yi, she would shrink back a little. She would rather believe that her reliance on Lin Yi was a kind of habitual familial love. She didn't have a mother's love since she was young, and her father was busy with work. Mingyao didn't have much love. But when Lin Yi came to the villa, he took care of her, protected her, and let Mingyao feel loved. So, Mingyao was more willing to believe that her feelings for Lin Yi were just attachment. As for love, how was that possible? How was that possible? Mingyao knew that she couldn't be as bold as Shu. Lin Yi had a girlfriend already, calling himself a mistress? How embarrassing was that? As for Xiao Xiao, Mingyao didn't think much about it. She just treated it as a dying person's wish. This was a special case, there was no comparison. The more she thought about it, the more hesitant she became. Seeing that it was her turn with Lin Yi, Mengyao didn't know why, but she said to Shu, "Shu, I want you to play with Lin Yi. If you can choose a guy, you can choose a girl too." Naturally, no one said anything about Mengyao's suggestion. After all, it had nothing to do with anyone else. It was fine as long as the person in question agreed. Oh, okay. Yushu hadn't had enough yet, and Mengyao's words made her very happy. "Shield bro, let's do it again. Don't go back on your words this time. We need to kiss a little longer." It ended so quickly Shu didn't feel anything. The misreaction was within Lin Yi's expectations. The miss was actually a very shy person. Giving Shu the role would save everyone from the awkwardness. Lin Yi could more or less confirm Shu's feelings towards him, so no matter how much he messed around with her, she wouldn't have any other thoughts. Mengyao, on the other hand, was something he couldn't understand. Other than the battle with Tang Yun, the miss had shown her determination. Other than that, he couldn't tell if the miss had any other feelings for him other than being friends. As for the battle with Tang Yun, Lin Yi could only attribute it to the miss being so angry that she didn't know what to say. In fact, at that time she and Tang Yun both said some things that weren't true. Lin Yi and Yushu raised the plastic wrap again. This time Yushu was smarter. She didn't wait for Lin Yi to kiss her stupidly. Instead, she took the initiative and kissed Lin Yi's lips through the plastic wrap. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. In fact, he could have avoided it, but he didn't. First, Lin Yi was afraid that Yushu would be sad. Second, it was because there was plastic wrap between them, so it shouldn't be considered a real kiss, right? When it came to kissing, Yushu was actually a newbie as well. She knew how it was, but she didn't know why. She only saw on TV that men and women kissed mouth to mouth, but she didn't know anything like a French kiss or a French kiss. So, the two stupidly pressed their lips together for a while and separated. Although Lin Yi didn't have similar experience, he knew a little more than Yushu. However, he didn't want to take advantage of Yushu, so he went along with Yushu and kissed her lips. It was considered a safe kiss. Yushu had achieved her goal, but she was still a little puzzled. The kiss wasn't as beautiful as it seemed. She was a little nervous and excited, but wasn't it like the movies? Wouldn't they get tired after kissing for so long? With this doubt, Yushu decided to go home and search for what was kissing on the internet. She wanted to see if she missed anything. Chapter 1605. In the end, the only one left was the unlucky Gao Xiaofu, the initiator of the event. He'd suffered the consequences of his own actions. He'd had a safe kiss with two girls in the class, Ugly Boss and Ugly Boss. After the kiss, Gao Xiaofu fainted on the ground, completely disgusted. The two beautiful girls, on the other hand, were still intoxicated. Gao Xiaofu, on the other hand, wasn't bad looking. He could be considered a handsome guy, and he used to be a powerful figure in the class. Although he'd been stepped on by Lin Yi, he still had a place in the girls' hearts. This was especially true for a dinosaur like him. As a result, Gao Xiaofu fainted after being hugged and kissed by the two beauties. Gao Xiaofu's situation drew a round of laughter from the class. The game was just an appetizer. After the game was over, Pinliang wanted to bring everyone to the game room to play billiards, video games, bowling, etc. But now that Gao Xiaofu had fainted, he couldn't go anymore. He could only give everyone a ticket to the game room. Those who wanted to play could go on their own. Mengyao's heart ached as she looked at Lin Yi and the blissful Yushu. Was this the happiness that belonged to her? She was starting to regret giving this chance to Yushu. Mengyao rubbed her temples. Why was it that she always regretted things? Did she really regret it? Was it because she liked Lin Yi? Or was it something else? Mengyao shook her head, trying her best not to think about it. It was irritating. At first, she'd been wary and hostile towards Lin Yi, but unknowingly she'd been influenced. There was a change in his mentality. "Yao Yao, what are you thinking about?" Yushu asked as she saw Mengyao standing there in a daze. She didn't know what she was thinking about. "Nothing, Shu." Mengyao shook her head. "Let's go. I'm a little tired. Let's go back and rest." "So we're not going to the game room?" Yushu was a little disappointed. It wasn't easy for them to come out and play. There was no point in going back to rest so early. Mengyao could see Yushu's disappointment as well. Yushu had been studying in the villa all this time, and she hadn't had a chance to relax at all. Lin Yi was still practicing, and Mengyao, Yushu, and Tang Yun didn't want to disturb Lin Yi. They knew that Lin Yi was about to do something important. Therefore, they did not go out to play. Therefore, with such a rare opportunity, it would be a pity if he didn't enjoy it to the fullest. Mengyao, on the other hand, felt a little tired from the past 2 days. She'd been fanning Lin Yi and she was sweating all over. She'd turned the air conditioner to the max, and she felt like she was about to catch a cold. But in order not to disappoint Shu, Meng Yao decided to accompany her. Thus he smiled and said, "Oh right, I forgot about that. Shall we go then?" Lin Yi could see Meng Yao's exhaustion, but he could also see the deep love she had for Yushu. Lin Yi could see how much she cared for Yushu. She looked like a big sister, and it was rare for them to have such a good relationship. They weren't real sisters, but they were closer than real sisters. Xiaobo wasn't interested in being a third wheel at all. He went back to his room to rest, feeling a little annoyed as well. Wherever he went, students would come up to him and flatter him. Xiaobo was starting to get bored. Lin Yi and the other two arrived at the activity room on the top floor of the resort. The entire floor was the activity center, and there were many entertainment programs. Pin Liang had wanted to book a private room for everyone to rest in, but he didn't because of Xiaofu. But there were many resting places in the activity center, and they weren't worried about not having enough space. There were many entertainment programs in the activity center, but there weren't many customers. It was empty as far as the eye could see. But that was to be expected. The activity center was only open to the guests of the resort, and it wasn't open to the public. How many customers could there be? Lin Yi and the other two found a place to sit down. Meng Yao was a little weak, so Lin Yi turned to Yushu. "What do you want to play? I'll bring you?" "Okay." Yushu noticed Meng Yao's discomfort and didn't force her. "Yao Yao, you'll stay here and watch over us?" "Yeah." Meng Yao nodded. Most of the time, Meng Yao wished Shu well in her heart, hoping that she'd find a good partner. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was a good choice based on his character and strength. But the problem was that Lin Yi already had a girlfriend and not just one. Was there even a chance between him and Yushu? Even if Shu said she didn't care, did she really care? And that ridiculous promise with her, the first wife and the second wife? Meng Yao sometimes couldn't understand Yushu's true thoughts. Sometimes she looked like an idiot and liked to play dumb. But Meng Yao felt that Yushu wasn't playing dumb most of the time. Maybe what she said was true. She'd practically grown up with Yushu and no one knew her better than Meng Yao. But even so, Meng Yao didn't understand her at all. This carefree girl, who could even be called a happy little girl, didn't seem to be happy. But in many situations, even if they were like sisters, Meng Yao wouldn't purposely ask Yushu if she didn't want to talk about it. No matter what, she was Yushu's Yao Yao and she would treat her well for life. Meng Yao sighed and laid on the table quietly, watching Lin Yi and Shu walk away. Lin Yi played a few rides with Yushu, but Yushu seemed a little dull, not as lively as before. It was probably because Meng Yao couldn't come with them. Lin Yi found it funny, these two sisters were really close. "Let's not play anymore, Shield Bro, let's go back and accompany Yao Yao," Yushu said disinterestedly. "Ha, okay." Lin Yi nodded and went to the drinks counter, bought 3 bottles of drinks, and walked towards Meng Yao with Shu. But after 2 steps, Lin Yi's face darkened. Lin Yi saw a baldy with sunglasses sitting beside Meng Yao's seat, talking to Meng Yao non-stop. Beside the baldy were a couple of gangster-like young men who obviously didn't look like good people. Chapter 1606. Another conflict, however, the baldy gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. Had they met before? "Shield Bro, someone seems to be flirting with Yao Yao sis. Let's go beat him up." Yushu panicked when she saw that Meng Yao was being flirted with. She picked up a bowling ball and said, 7*. Seeing Yushu's actions, Lin Yi suddenly felt pity for the baldy. His head was definitely not as hard as a bowling ball. But after 2 steps, Lin Yi's face darkened even more. Because Lin Yi really did know this baldy. "What, you're not giving me face? I asked you to dance with me but you didn't agree. Now you can't even have a drink with me?" The baldy looked at Meng Yao. His tone was very displeased. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't like to be rough with girls, he would have gotten someone to take Meng Yao back. "I don't have a drink, but there's a bowling ball," Yushu said as she swung the bowling ball at the back of the baldy's head. The baldy fell to the ground, blood flowing from the back of his head. "Master Yu." The gangsters around Master Yu didn't expect that someone would come out of nowhere and attack Master Yu. They were all mystic class masters and their strength wasn't low. It was just that they didn't put their attention on defense. They didn't expect someone to suddenly attack them. The reason why Lin Yi didn't stop Yushu was because he recognized the baldy's identity. He was Master Yu, the one who wanted to copy Xinyan's exam paper. So Lin Yi wasn't worried that Yushu would beat the baldy to death. If he died, then so be it. Noble houses and hidden houses had their own ways to resolve their grudges. "Fuck, you're asking for it." The yellow hair next to Master Yu turned around and wanted to beat Yushu. He didn't care if Yushu was a girl or not. How could he let her off if she dared to hit Master Yu with a bowling ball? However, Lin Yi had already pulled Yushu behind him. He looked at the yellow hair in front of him coldly. "What? You want to play trapeze again?" "Quack." The yellow-haired man was stunned. When he saw Lin Yi clearly, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that these two chicks were related to Lin Yi. Previously, in the examination hall, he had suffered a loss at the hands of Lin Yi, and this time. Suddenly the yellow-hair's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't beat Lin Yi, there was someone here who could beat Lin Yi. After the incident last time, young master, you specifically asked for a mystic late-phase peak physical practitioner to be his bodyguard. The purpose was to deal with Lin Yi. The blonde quickly yelled, "Stick bro, this kid is a mystic late-phase spiritual practitioner, he's a troublesome opponent, you'll have to deal with him. It's him who made young master you suffer a loss last time." Stick bro was just like his name, tall and thin like a stick. He didn't dye his hair like the yellow-haired man. His hair was gray and white. Obviously, even if he pretended to be young, he wouldn't be able to go to school with young master you. Therefore, such a bodyguard could only follow young master you outside. It was impossible to do so when he was in school. Holy Hall. When Stick bro heard that Lin Yi was a mystic late-phase master, he was slightly surprised, but he didn't care too much. He was a famous mystic late-phase peak physical practitioner for a long time. In his opinion, Lin Yi was just a junior who didn't know how to break through. Even if he had strength, it probably wasn't stable. As for Lin Yi's background, young master Yu went back to investigate for a long time, but he couldn't find anything. He was only a second young master, so he couldn't use all the resources of the Yu family. He could only ask around to see if there were other hidden families who looked like Lin Yi. But from the information he got back, there was no one who looked like Lin Yi, so young master Yu was relieved. Since he wasn't from a hidden family, there was no problem. As for the ancient level, he really didn't think about it. Disciples of the ancient level generally didn't appear in the secular world. They didn't even bother to fight with ordinary masters like the hidden families. They only wanted to pursue the heaven class, hoping to achieve the heavenly Tao. Where would they have the time to take an exam? Young master Yu was a cultivator after all. Although he didn't have much strength, he still had true chi to protect his body. He was injured by the bowling ball, but it wasn't too serious. After he got up and took a pill, the blood at the back of his head quickly stopped. "Stick, kill this kid for me." Young master Yu caught his breath and glared at Lin Yi fiercely. Last time he lost face in front of Lin Yi. This time he didn't even get his face back and was hit by a bowling ball. If he didn't trample Lin Yi to death, how could he vent his anger? "Kid, I heard that you are a master in the late stage of mystic class?" Stick bro looked at Lin Yi and asked faintly, "Which family's disciple are you from? Tell me your name." "What? Are you trying to test me? Do you want to see if House Yu has the ability to challenge the power behind me?" Lin Yi looked at Stick bro mockingly and asked. Stick bro was older and he had become famous earlier. He had long passed the age of being young and frivolous, so he considered the problem more comprehensively. Although young master Yu said that there was no Lin Yi in those families, he still wanted to ask about Lin Yi's background. "Humph, you're just afraid that the flood will destroy the temple of the Dragon King. Our Yu family has never been afraid of anyone. Among the hidden families, even the hidden House Yu has to respect us." Stick bro felt embarrassed when Lin Yi saw through his thoughts. "No matter who you are, you have to give me an explanation for today's matter. Either cripple your own martial arts or follow me back to House Yu and wait for our master's punishment." "Ha, I'm a solo cultivator with no family." Lin Yi smiled faintly. "Are you relieved now? But as for the two conditions you mentioned, I think we should do the opposite. Either you cripple your own martial arts or I'll cripple you. Then you can go back and wait for your master to kick you out of the family." "You have a sharp tongue." Stick bro sneered and didn't say anything else. He suddenly raised his strength to the peak of the late stage of mystic class and swung his palm towards Lin Yi. He had made up his mind that even if he wanted to capture Lin Yi, he would first cripple Lin Yi. Otherwise, young master Yu's anger wouldn't be extinguished so easily. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't dodge. He casually raised his right palm and in an instant, the peak of the late stage of mystic class was revealed. In an instant, Stick bro's face, which was originally proud and confident of victory, suddenly took a 180-degree turn. Previously, he thought that it wouldn't be easy for him to use his peak of the late stage of mystic class to fight Lin Yi, who was a spiritual master of the late stage of mystic class. Although there was a difference of one level between spiritual and physical, it depended on how you fought. Chapter 1607. Chapter 1606, New Plan. Stick bro focused all his strength on his palms, and if Lin Yi didn't defend with all his might, he would be crippled. Moreover, Stick bro's arts were similar to Wu Qintian's, both of them focused on their hands, high attack and low defense. From what he saw, Lin Yi would definitely be heavily injured, but he didn't expect that Lin Yi's strength would be mystic late phase peak. What the fuck, wasn't this a trap? If Stick Bro fought against a first-stage spiritual practitioner, he would definitely win, but if he fought against a spiritual practitioner who was one stage higher, wouldn't he be looking for death? No matter how strong he was still one stage lower. It was all for naught. He didn't have the ability to fight above his level. This was the same logic as playing online games. Your level was there, and if you wanted to kill someone who was a higher level than you, it would be very difficult. Of course, there were exceptions, such as if your skills were stronger than others, or if your equipment was better than others. Network. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was one of those players who had good skills and good equipment in online games, and he even had the Jade Pendant. How could others play against him? And so, Stick Bro was sent flying by Lin Yi with a sad face, landing on the bowling alley 10 meters away. Coincidentally, someone threw a bowling ball at the head of the extremely weak Stick Bro, knocking him out cold. St. Hall Mystic Late Phase Peak. How is this possible? Yellow and purple hair looked at Lin Yi in shock, not knowing how he became a Mystic Late Phase Peak master. You hid your strength before? What do you think? Lin Yi was too lazy to answer their questions. Let them think about it. Yellow and purple hair, on the other hand, thought that perhaps Lin Yi really did hide his strength from the start. If Lin Yi could hide it the first time, he could definitely hide it the second time. Then what about the third time? Could it be that Lin Yi's true power wasn't even at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class? Yellow hair and purple hair were dumbstruck at this thought. But then again, it was Earth rank. Hidden aristocratic families were restrained by the Arbitration Association and couldn't casually appear in the secular world. Thus they were relieved. You better think twice before going against the Hidden Right family. The yellow-haired man had spoken harshly. He did not have the guts to stay here anymore. Even Brother Stick was no match for Lin Yi. What ability did they have to keep Lin Yi here? Therefore, he was convinced by young Master Yu and prepared to leave in a hurry. As for purple hair, he went to carry Brother Stick, and the few of them disappeared from the entertainment center. During this period, young Master Yu didn't say a word. His heart was filled with hatred, but he couldn't vent it. He was well aware of the difference in strength between a peak late-phase mystic class spiritual master and a physical master. Especially since Stick Bro was injured, he was definitely not Lin Yi's opponent. Holy Hall Lin Yi didn't think too much about becoming enemies with the Hidden Right family. Since the hatred had been formed, there was no way to resolve it. He would just take it one step at a time. Yao Yao, are you okay? They didn't do anything to you, right? Lin Yi looked at the tired Meng Yao and asked. I'm fine. Thank you. But there won't be any trouble, right? The miss could tell that those people weren't simple, so she was just perfunctory and didn't get angry directly. Ha, what are you thanking me for? Haven't I always been your fighter? Lin Yi smiled. Aren't we friends now? Meng Yao asked. Lin Yi was slightly stunned and nodded. And we're friends, so there's no need to say thank you. Okay. Meng Yao seemed happy to hear Lin Yi say that. Because of young Master Yu and Stick Bro, the three of them who were already a little dispirited had no more thoughts of playing anymore. They left the activity room and went back to their rooms to rest. Lin Yi didn't really stay in the same room with Meng Yao and Yushu. It wasn't convenient and people would gossip about him. Shu was fine, but Lin Yi was afraid of bringing gossip to the miss, so he went to Kang Xiaobo's room. Looking at Lin Yi leave, the miss was expressionless and no one could tell if she was happy or sad. In the floating cloud bar, Yaowang, Uncle Zhu, Boss Zhu, Qibing, and Sihua were sitting together, plotting something. Lin Yi went to the class reunion. If I'm not wrong, they'll definitely go hiking tomorrow. This is the activity that people who go to the resort choose the next morning, Sihua said. Sihua said. He was in the entertainment industry after all, so he was very familiar with these things. Then let's do it tomorrow morning. Boss Zhu nodded, but he was a little worried as he looked at Yaowang. Yaowang, is what you said true? Ordinary poisonous snakes will become extremely poisonous after consuming this 5-step dispersing powder, but they won't be poisoned to death? I've studied medicine for so long, why would I lie to you? Yaowang said. Plus, we're all Master Bing's people. This isn't just revenge for Zhu Lauer, it's also revenge for Master Bing. That's good. Boss Zhu nodded and said, people who are poisoned by this kind of poison will lose their true qi and have no antidote? I heard that Lin Yi is a miracle doctor too. What if he can cure it? Of course there's a cure, but Lin Yi may be a skilled doctor, but where would he find the cure in that small town? By the time he gets back to Songshan and finds the cure, his qi will be long gone, and he'll become a normal person. There's no point in curing it, Yaowang said. This poison doesn't work on normal people? Boss Zhu asked. No, it'll only hurt a little and the wound will swell for a few days, but it won't cause much damage. This is why normal snakes don't have any effects after consuming it, Yao Wang explained. Alright. I'll find a chance tomorrow to poison Lin Yi and turn him into a normal person. It'll be too easy for us to deal with him then. Boss Zhu nodded. Big brother, but that Lin Yi seems to be able to recover his strength, right? I heard that his meridians were all destroyed, but his meridians recovered, and he regained his strength. Uncle Zhu reminded. Meridians can be healed with the meridian opening pill. Once the meridians are healed, doesn't that mean that his strength will be restored? But this 5-step powder disperses all the qi in the body, turning a person into a normal person. It's different. Yao Wang explained. Zhu Lauer, aren't you an example? Uncle Zhu thought about it and felt that it was indeed the case. He immediately felt relieved. Then it settled. Tomorrow I'll think of a way to make the snake that ate the 5-step powder bite Lin Yi, Boss Zhu said fiercely. Boss Zhu said fiercely, once Lin Yi disperses his pure energy, he'll be a tiger without teeth. We can step on him however we want. Target equals Underkunig. Chapter 1608. A very important person. Although the hidden house Zhao wanted them to keep a low profile and bear with it, especially when old Zhao was in seclusion, Qibing and Boss Zhu couldn't take this lying down. Qibing's legs were healed by Elder Bai, and Uncle Zhu's life was saved by Elder Bai, but it wasn't realistic for Uncle Zhu to practice for the rest of his life. His meridians were all broken and so were his limbs. He was now a cripple in a wheelchair. Seeing his brother, who had a bright future ahead of him, become a cripple just like that, how could Boss Zhu take this lying down? But with Elder Bai and Guangyin's warning, he didn't dare do anything rash. This time, Qibing couldn't take it anymore and the two of them hit it off. They wanted to harm Lin Yi but they couldn't fight him head-on, so Yao Wang thought of a soft way. Holy Hall One had to admit that these people had some smart. It didn't look easy, but as long as they did it properly Lin Yi would be completely crippled. It was worth the trouble. Hidden in the Tang family in the training room of the Tang family patriarch, Old Master Tang, a disciple in his 20s was sitting on a chair, waiting for Old Master Tang to finish his training. Holy Hall, if Lin Yi were here, he'd be able to recognize this 20-something. He was one of the participants in the Ice Palace test, one of the unlucky bastards that Zhang Naipeo had robbed on the first day of the test. And so he didn't pass the test and returned to the hidden house with regret. Of course, it wasn't his fault. How could a hidden house compete with the ancient sects? Therefore, when this Tang family disciple told the clan elders about what had happened, no one blamed him. After all, this matter couldn't be blamed on him. Even his second uncle's family, who had always been at odds with him, didn't say anything. This Tang kid was called Tang Yui. He was the direct descendant of House Tang, and after reporting the situation to the elders, he rushed to see the old head of House Tang, Elder Tang. Because this matter could only be decided by Elder Tang. Tang Yui was a smart man. He knew the importance of this matter. He also knew that if this matter was true, it would have an immeasurable impact on the Tang family. So, Tang Yui did not tell anyone, not even his father, the current head of the Tang family. He hurriedly went to Grandfather Tang's room. However, Tang Yui was the direct descendant of the Tang family. Personally coming to see Grandfather Tang was not considered to be breaking the rules, so no one would say anything. 7 After practicing a set of the Tang family's internal energy cultivation techniques, Grandfather Tang stopped and nodded towards Tang Yui, who was waiting on a chair. Yu, how was the training this time? Did you find anything? Tang Yui did not hide anything and respectfully told Grandfather Tang what he had said to his father and the great elder. Grandfather, that person is a disciple of the everyday and everyday sect. Grandson does not dare to fight with him. If we insist on fighting for a moment of pride, then not only will our grandson not be able to return, but it will also bring disaster to our hidden Tang family. So grandson can only give up on this opportunity. You did the right thing. The ancient sects and the hidden families are not on the same level. Tolerating them is the wisest choice. Elder Tang nodded his head and said, our Tang family's inner force cultivation technique has always leaned towards the ice attribute. This time we sent you to the Ice Palace because we wanted you to stay there and become an outer disciple. That way you would be able to advance in that unique environment. But forget it, there are some things that cannot be done, so there is no need to force it. Grandson knows, so grandson did not want to give up on this opportunity. I stayed at the foot of the ice mountain and trained for a while before coming back. The spiritual energy there is thick, allowing grandson to break through the bottleneck. Right now grandson is a mystic mid-phase peak. Tang Yu said. What? You broke through? Ah, that's great. Grandfather Tang said happily. Not bad, not bad. At your age you are already a mystic mid-phase peak. In time, It is not impossible for you to break through to Sky Class. You just came back and you're already here. Are you trying to take credit from me? Your father and the others don't know about this, do they? I'm sorry, grandfather. They really don't know. I didn't have the time to tell them. Tang Yuyu quickly apologized. I know that you always wanted to be the young master, but I didn't tell you. Now that you're back from the trial, are you thinking about it again? Grandfather Tang sighed. Grandfather, let's not talk about this for now. I came to see you in a hurry because of something else. Tang Yuyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although he wanted to be the young master, he did come for something else. Oh, something else? Grandfather Tang paused. It's something very important. Tang Yuyu suddenly lowered his voice. Grandfather, should we go to the secret room? Although no one dared to eavesdrop outside of Grandfather Tang's training room, the Sky Class masters in the family were not to be trifled with. If they heard what Tang Yuyu said, it would cause a huge uproar. Without Grandfather Tang's approval, Tang Yuyu didn't dare to speak carelessly. Secret room? Grandfather Tang was even more confused. What is it that requires us to go to the secret room to discuss? It should be noted that the secret room would only be opened when it was related to the Tang family's development or the selection of the next family head. Under other circumstances, Grandfather Tang would never go to the secret room. I saw someone who could change the status of our Tang family. If my guess is correct, then the Tang family's meteoric rise is just around the corner. Tang Yuyu said. However, before this news is confirmed, I can only tell you, Grandfather. Saw someone? Someone who can change the Tang family? Grandfather Tang frowned. However, seeing how mysterious Tang Yuyu was, he thought for a moment and nodded his head. All right, come with me. After speaking, Grandfather Tang turned around and walked towards an ancient painting by the side of the bookshelf. He gently touched the mechanism on the ancient painting and a creaking sound could be heard. The place where the bookshelf used to be was now a secret passageway. Although everyone in the Tang family knew about Grandfather Tang's secret room, the only person who was actually summoned into the secret room was Tang Yuyu's father, the current head of the hidden Tang family. Chapter 1609. Relatives? For Tang Yuyu to be able to enter this place, it could be considered a form of glory. Tang Yuyu carefully followed Grandfather Tang into the secret room. Soon after, the door to the secret room automatically closed with a clang, plunging the passage into darkness. Grandfather Tang casually pressed a button and the lights in the secret passage lit up, illuminating the entire passageway. The interior of the passage was very simple, not as luxurious as Tang Yuyu had imagined. It was no different from a normal staircase. After descending 2 flights of stairs, Grandfather Tang and Tang Yuyu arrived at a small hall. In the small hall, there was only a simple meeting table and a few chairs. This was the so-called secret room. In Tang Yuyu's mind, the secret room was supposed to be a very luxurious and dignified place. He never expected it to be so ordinary, like a room that had never been renovated before. In reality, Grandfather Tang rarely used the secret room, so there was no need to decorate it too luxuriously. What, is it different from what I expected? Do you think this place is very shabby? Grandfather Tang looked at Tang Yuyu and smiled. Holy Church, I wouldn't dare. Tang Yuyu hurriedly said, a place to discuss matters naturally doesn't need to be luxurious. You're right. Take a seat, Yuyu. This time you can speak. What important matter do you have to tell me? Grandfather Tang sat on the main seat and gestured to Tang Yuyu. Grandfather, during the trial I saw someone. Speaking up to this point, Tang Yuyu hesitated as if he didn't know what to say. You saw someone? Oh. Grandfather Tang said, if you have something to say, then say it. Why are you hemming and hawing? Why did you come to this secret room? I'm the only one here, no one else can hear me. Grandfather, then grandson will speak boldly. Tang Yuyu gritted his teeth and said, during the trial I saw someone, she looked very similar to third aunt. Your third aunt? Xiaoming? Grandfather Tang furrowed his brows and said, looked like her? Who looked like her? Ice Palace. Palace Master. Tang Yuyu said, when I first saw her, I thought I saw third aunt. At that time I was so scared that I couldn't speak, but because she was a peak late-stage heaven rank expert, I didn't dare to look too much. But in the trial, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was wrong. Later, when the trial ended, I took a closer look at the Ice Palace Master. She really looked like Third Madam. But I haven't seen Third Madam for many years, so I don't have a deep impression of her, but she should be similar to the Third Madam I saw when she was young. You mean, the Palace Master of Ice Palace and your third auntie? Grandfather Tang was shocked by Tang Yuyu's words. He jumped up from his chair with a whoosh. With Elder Tang's composure, it was impossible for him to do something so crude. However, the news that Tang Yuyu brought him was too important. I suspect that the Palace Master of Ice Palace is the child that Third Madam lost. Tang Yuyu said, "Grandfather, do you really think that there are people in this world who look so similar?" This. Grandfather Tang's expression instantly became incomparably interesting. After a while he said, "That's not possible. The Palace Master of the Ice Palace is in existence at the peak late-stage heaven rank. How could she in our Tang family? Grandfather, this is a photo that I secretly took with my phone. Please take a look." As he spoke, Tang Yuyu handed a phone to Grandfather Tang. This photo was taken that night in front of the inn. Rock Tang and Elder Qing naturally noticed his actions, but they had no need to stop him. After all, their images were not a secret, so it wasn't a big deal for the hidden families to know about it. 7 asterisk, let me take a look. Although Grandfather Tang said that it was unlikely, his heart was in a state of shock. Deep down in his heart he also hoped that what Tang Yuyu said was true. If that was the case, then the Tang family's meteoric rise was just around the corner. Grandfather Tang practically snatched the phone from Tang Yuyu's hands. After taking a look at the photo he was instantly stunned. Too similar, really too similar. Grandfather Tang looked at the photo on the phone and mumbled to himself, "She looks exactly like your third madam when she was young." "Grandfather, you mean she?" After hearing his grandfather's words, Tang Yuyu confirmed his suspicions. "She is my half-sister from a different mother? If that's the case then that's it. But I'm not sure." Elder Tang suddenly sighed, "Your mother is a jealous person. She was the one who single-handedly caused everything that happened in the past. Now that the Ice Palace's palace master is indeed your sister, it may not be a good thing for the Tang family." After the excitement, Grandfather Tang's mind calmed down. His eldest son had married 3 wives. His first wife was also from a hidden family. To be honest, it was just a marriage alliance. His eldest son had no feelings for his eldest son. As for his eldest son's childhood sweetheart, she became his second wife. However, Grandfather Tang's eldest daughter-in-law had used a scheme to kill his second daughter-in-law. If not for the fact that she was from an aristocratic family, Grandfather Tang would have punished her. However, his second daughter-in-law had no background and no children. So, after his eldest daughter-in-law's family offered some compensation, the matter was left unsettled. As for the third daughter-in-law, after his second daughter-in-law died, his eldest son married her and gave birth to a daughter. Originally, this daughter would not have been a threat to Tang Yuyu's right to inherit the position of junior head of household. However, his jealous eldest daughter-in-law ordered the servants to throw the daughter out. After this incident, the third daughter-in-law became depressed and did not speak much. Instead, she spent all day looking for her daughter. It was as if she was mentally unstable. Seeing that she was no longer a threat, the eldest daughter-in-law no longer paid attention to her. Using the excuse that she had gone crazy, she ordered the servants to lock her up in a separate courtyard and refused to see the rest of the Tang family. "My mother? If I were my father, I would have divorced her a long time ago." Tang Yuyu's face flashed with anger. "She is not fit to be my mother. I'm ashamed of her. When I was young I was very close to Third Aunt. I would often send people to deliver daily necessities to her. I believe with my help, Third Aunt will not blame our Tang family." Tang Yuyu was an honest and kind person. He respected open schemes and was very disdainful towards schemes. Target equals undercommit. Chapter 16:10. The emotional Tang family. As a result, Tang Yuyu did not have the upper hand in the fight for the position of young master. If he had been willing to play some tricks, the position would have been his long ago. Although she was Tang Yuyu's biological mother, the things that his mother did made Tang Yuyu despise her. As a result, Tang Yuyu's relationship with her was very cold and he kept a respectful distance from her. Sanctuary, that's true. Grandfather Tang nodded his head and said, "But Yuyu, do you know why I haven't agreed to let you be the young master?" Tang Yuyu was surprised. He didn't know why his grandfather would suddenly bring this up. You're a good person. You are a real man and there is nothing wrong with your character. However, you are too loyal and don't know how to scheme. By placing you in the position of young master too early, I'm not helping you, I'm harming you. In the family there are many people eyeing that position. It's easy to dodge a spear in the open but hard to guard against a stab in the dark. If you really become the young master, you will soon become the target of everyone. When that time comes, I'm afraid you won't even know how you died. Grandfather Tang sighed. Tang Yuyu was stunned. He suddenly understood his grandfather's painstaking efforts. It turned out that grandfather's heart had always been on his side. Thinking of this, Tang Yuyu was extremely moved. "Thank you, grandfather, for taking care of me. Forget it, let's not talk about this anymore. This matter must be kept a secret. Don't tell anyone else. At the moment, only the two of us know about it. If this matter is leaked, it will be a blessing or a curse for the Tang family." Grandfather Tang warned. "Sanctuary, yes." Tang Yuyu replied solemnly. "Good. Now, come with me to see your third auntie." Grandfather Tang said, "Follow me and be careful. Don't let anyone see you." "Yes." Tang Yuyu replied. And so, Grandfather Tang led Tang Yuyu out of the secret room. Avoiding everyone's eyes, they directly arrived at the courtyard where third auntie was being held captive. Grandfather Tang was a heaven-ranked expert. For him, this matter was as easy as flipping his hand. The servant in third concubine's courtyard suddenly saw two more people in the courtyard. He was so shocked that he was about to shout. However, when he saw clearly who it was, he was shocked. "Old master, young master, go ahead, it's none of your business." Tang Yuyu waved his hand and gestured. "Yes, young master." The servant did not dare to speak and hurriedly bowed his head and left to attend to his own matters. Meanwhile, Tang Yuyu and Grandfather Tang directly entered third aunt's room. What he saw was a young married woman. She was dressed very simply. Although she was a little listless, she was definitely not mentally ill. The young woman's appearance was no longer there, but one could tell that she had been a beauty when she was young. Looking at this third aunt, Tang Yuyu could not help but sigh. Thinking back to when he was young, she had brought him along to play. She had been such a beautiful young girl, just like the current Ice Palace master. But now, after so many years, things had changed. All these years, although Tang Yuyu had often asked people to send food and clothing to third aunt, in order to avoid arousing suspicion, he had never come here. After all, he was the grandson of the first wife. How could he possibly get involved with third aunt? At the same time, Grandfather Tang could not help but lament the passing of time. It had only been 10 years and this third aunt had already become so haggard. Thinking about his eldest son, who was willing to do anything for the sake of power, Grandfather Tang shook his head. If it wasn't for his eldest son's tacit approval, no matter how jealous his daughter-in-law was, this was still the Tang family, not hers. It wasn't a place where she could do whatever she wanted. However, in order to get hold of his daughter-in-law's weakness, he used her family's influence to throw away his own flesh and blood. This was simply inhumane. Elder Tang noticed all of this, but he did not say a word. The Tang family needed to develop, so they needed a ruthless person. As long as he did not do anything that would harm the Tang family's interests, Grandfather Tang would not interfere. Hearing the sound, third aunt turned around. When she saw the old man and the young man in front of her, she was stunned. She naturally recognized the old man, but the young man looked a little familiar. However, she did not dare to recognize him. "Father, why are you here?" Third aunt hurriedly stood up and bowed. "Father, please take a seat." Third aunt was a little fearful. For the past 10 years, no one from the Tang family had appeared before her. But now, the Tang family head had suddenly appeared, causing her to panic. She was originally from a poor background and was not from a big family. All these years, she had lost her daughter and had always been depressed. She also knew that the big madam did not like her, so she could only wait for her life to come to an end. "Xiaoming, it's been so many years. Must have been hard on you." My unfilial son sighed. As soon as Grandfather Tang entered the room, he waved his hand and sighed. "Father, it's not his fault, it's Xiaoming's fault for being careless." Third aunt was fearful, unsure of what Grandfather Tang was planning. "All these years I have never given up on finding your daughter. But as you know, the eldest daughter-in-law's family is as powerful as the Tang family. So, I had no choice but to ask you to investigate in secret." Grandfather Tang lied without batting an eyelid. He pointed to Tang Yuyu and said, "Yuyu has always been close to you when he was young. Now that his sister has gone missing, he has become estranged from his mother. Ah, it's the big young master." After hearing Grandfather Tang's words, third aunt finally recognized the young man in front of her as Tang Yuyu. "Third aunt, all these years in order to avoid arousing suspicion, I haven't visited you. I'm truly ashamed." Tang Yuyu bowed deeply. These were his sincere words. He wasn't as hypocritical as Elder Tang. He had a close relationship with third auntie, otherwise he wouldn't have sent people to deliver gifts to her all these years. "Young master, you're exaggerating. All these years I've relied on you to take care of me. I don't have to worry about food and clothing here." Third aunt didn't doubt Grandfather Tang's words. If others had forgotten about her, she would have believed it. But all these years Tang Yuyu had sent gifts to her during the festive season. This touched third aunt very much. In the past she didn't treat Tang Yuyu well. This child was really not bad. Hearing that Tang Yuyu had been secretly searching for his daughter all these years, third aunt was even more excited as she asked, "Young master, then did you manage to find out anything about Tang Tang?" Third aunt's daughter's nickname was Tang Tang. It was a very nice name. As for her real name, it was also Tang Tang. It was just that the characters were different. Target equals undercommit. Chapter 16:11. Chapter 16:10. Preparing to go to the Ice Palace. I have some news. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here with grandfather. Tang Yuyu sighed. Although his grandfather was lying, he couldn't refute him. He simply said, "Third auntie, you are the elder. Why are you calling me young master? Just call me Yuyu." Xiaoming Yuyu has indeed found news of Tang Tang. However, he isn't sure if this person is Tang Tang. Look, he took a photo. Where is it? After hearing grandfather Tang's words, third auntie seemed to be in a much better mood. She said excitedly, "Quick, let me see." However, she quickly realized that she had lost her composure. She quickly said, "Father, I'm sorry. I was too anxious." "It's nothing. You let Xiaoming see the phone." Grandfather Tang's attitude had always been good. As a sly old fox, he naturally knew how to put on an act. Tang Yuyu had already revealed his true feelings, so there was no need for him to put on an act. "Third auntie, please take a look." Tang Yuyu handed the phone to third auntie. Third concubine took the phone and glanced at it. She exclaimed in surprise and almost dropped the phone on the ground. Her eyes stared straight at the photo on the phone. Her throat was stuck and she couldn't say a word. She couldn't help but tear up. After a long time she finally said in a barely audible voice, "Tang Tang, is that you?" "Tang Tang, it must be you." Grandfather Tang and Tang Yuyu didn't say anything. They both knew that third auntie needed some time to digest this news. At this time, it was already a miracle that she didn't faint from excitement. After all, no one would be able to accept the sudden news of their long-lost daughter. "Yes, it must be. Father, when I first saw her, I had an inexplicable feeling in my heart as if she was my daughter. This is a kind of blood connection. I'm sure it's her. She must be Tang Tang." Third aunt said, "Where is she? I'm going to find her." "This?" Grandfather Tang smiled bitterly. "Xiaoming, don't get too excited. It's a bit complicated." "Complicated?" Third auntie wanted to say something, but she shut her mouth. She looked at Grandfather Tang with anticipation and anxiety. "Xiaoming, do you know her current identity?" Grandfather Tang sighed and said, "Her current identity is the palace master of an ancient sect, Ice Palace." "What? An ancient sect? Ice Palace palace master?" Third aunt was shocked. Although she was born poor, she had been in the hidden Tang family for many years. She knew about the hidden families and ancient sections. So when she heard that the person in the photo was the palace master of the ancient sect, Ice Palace, she was stunned. "Holy Church, this is also the reason why Zhua and I are uncertain." Old man Tang said, "The difference between us and the Ice Palace's palace master is simply too great. How could an abandoned child of the Tang family become the palace master of one of the largest ancient sects, the Ice Palace? This was too unimaginable. Moreover, according to Yuyu, she was a peak late-stage heaven rank master. Even I am only at the early stage of heaven rank." Third aunt held the phone tightly and did not speak. She looked at the person in the photo and no one knew what she was thinking. As for Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu, they did not disturb her. After a while, third aunt said, "I have a feeling that she is my daughter, it really is. Xiaoming, if you're sure, let's personally go to the Ice Palace's location. Even if we're right or not, there's nothing to lose." Elder Tang had already thought it through. Going to the Ice Palace wouldn't be considered as offending the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace was different from the Everyday and Everyday Day sect, which didn't play by the rules. Sects like the Ice Palace sometimes didn't care about small and weak powers. If they really went to the Ice Palace, they would at most be chased out for making a mistake, but there wouldn't be any danger. "Is that okay?" "Okay." Third aunt agreed without hesitation. She also wanted to see her daughter as soon as possible. Not to mention the Ice Palace, even if she had to go to the ends of the earth, she would go. "Then it's decided. You don't need to say anything to the servants. I will make the arrangements and we will set off in a few days." Grandfather Tang said after a moment of silence. "I understand." Third aunt nodded in agreement. Although third concubine was born in a poor family and did not have any bad intentions, she was not stupid. She quickly realized that if her daughter Tang Tang was really the palace master of the Ice Palace, the future of the Tang family would be greatly affected. But, would her daughter be willing to acknowledge her as her mother? Thinking of this, third aunt's expression darkened. Grandfather Tang and Tang Yu quickly left. They had to make arrangements for the family and head to the Ice Palace, but they could not let the rest of the family suspect them. There were still many things to be arranged. In the resort, after taking a shower, Lin Yi and Kang Xiaobo were chatting on the sofa. It feels like a dream. Thinking back to when you first transferred here and had a conflict with Zhong Pingliang, it is still fresh in my mind. In the blink of an eye, I have become a vice president of a company. This change is really big. Kang Xiaobo sighed. Hearing Kang Xiaobo's words, Lin Yi's heart was filled with emotions as well. Back then he was just an ordinary assassin, or rather, a small bodyguard. In short, his job was similar to that of a bounty hunter, and his life was uncertain. But now, not only did he have his own company, but he also had the strength to challenge the noble houses. This was unimaginable in the past. At that time he was just a normal bodyguard protecting Yuning, the little princess of the hidden house Yu. Compared to Yuning, it felt like a cowherd and a weaver girl. But now, with a shake of his body, he dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. He stole a chi-gathering pill and even dared to step on their representative in the common world, the common house Yu, and even asked them to send 2 concubines over. Life was like this, full of miracles and twists. No one could predict their own future. Xiaobo, have you thought about how to arrange for your university? Lin Yi asked. I don't know yet, but I think I will find an economics school, put my name on it and get a certificate. Right now, I want to focus on managing the company. When the time comes, if I am not capable enough, I will study for an MBA in business management. Xiaobo said. But I did get Fun to sign up for a night university so she can go study at night. She's different from me, she's better at quality inspection. I'm planning on getting her to get some certifications related to that, since our company needs people like that in the future. Target equals undercommit. Chapter 16:12. Alright, since you've made up your mind, I won't say anything else. Lin Yi nodded, a little regretful. It seemed like Kang Xiaobo had already walked on his own path. He couldn't spend his university years with Lin Yi anymore. Oh right boss, Kang Mingming doesn't seem to have given up. I've seen him roping in people from the purchasing and quality control departments. It seems like he's also eyeing our painkiller formula. Kang Xiaobo said, although the purchasing and quality control departments don't have a detailed formula, I'm still afraid that they'll leak something and let them research something. Don't worry about him. Lin Yi said faintly, the most important core technologies for painkillers are in your and Fatty Lai's hands. He can research the rest if he wants. Be careful not to explode. Kang Xiaobo was stunned. Didn't I tell you guys that I bought some other drugs together? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, after buying they were all stored in the warehouse. Kang Xiaobo nodded. Could it be those drugs he put them together and made them explode? Lin Yi smiled. Boss, it can't be? You're really something. Kang Xiaobo wanted his men to be careful and not spill the beans, or he could just fire those who had contact with Kang Mingming. But after listening to Lin Yi's words, Kang Xiaobo was impressed. So boss, you had foresight. It's not foresight, it's just a coincidence. The medicinal ingredients that I asked you guys to buy are produced in small quantities every year. They're needed for the next drug that's on the market, so I bought them in advance. But if you mix them with the other ingredients, it'll easily explode. Lin Yi said. Kang Xiaobo clicked his tongue, sighing at Kang Ming's bad luck. The ingredients that he spent so much effort to get would probably explode after he made them. Then do we need to leak it to him? Kang Xiaobo asked after some hesitation. If he gives you money, just give him the list. Lin Yi smiled. Just like last time. Haha, okay. Kang Xiaobo was happy after getting Lin Yi's permission. Not only could he extort money from him, but he could also screw Kang Mingming over. Why not? In the other room, Mengyao and Yushu were whispering on the bed after they finished showering. Shu, how did you feel when you kissed Lin Yi today? Mengyao wanted to ask, but she was too shy to do so in front of Lin Yi. Hihi Yao Yao sis, why don't you give it a try? Why should I give it a try? I would have done it if I wanted to. Mengyao blushed. I don't want to, that's why I'm asking you. Oh, actually, you were the first one to kiss Shield Bro. Yao Yao, did you forget? You guys kissed indirectly. Yushu said. Mengyao's face darkened as she thought back to that indirect kiss. She'd only felt hatred and disgust for Lin Yi back then, and that was why she'd reacted so strongly. But now that she thought about it, it didn't really matter. Lin Yi didn't even care about her pee. Why would she care about Lin Yi's saliva? Meng Yao's face reddened even more when she thought about that incident. That was the most shameful experience Meng Yao had ever had in her life. What about that time? Meng Yao coughed. Forget it. It's fine if you don't want to say it. Yao sis, don't be angry. I'll say it. Yushu looked at the blushing Meng Yao. Whoa Yao sis, are you shy? What are you talking about? It's because I'm hot. Meng Yao argued. Are you going to say it or not? It's fine if you don't. Alright, I'll tell you. With that, Yushu planted a kiss on Meng Yao's lips. Meng Yao was still in a daze when Yushu said gleefully, "That's it, now you get it, right?" Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are you the same as Linny? Hey Yao sis, you should try it yourself. I really don't understand. Yushu, stop fooling around. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Meng Yao waved her hand. Shu, do you really like Linny? Yushu started playing dumb again. What are you talking about? Answer me. Meng Yao said sternly. Of course I like him. Don't you like him too, Yao sis? Yushu said seriously. Don't drag me into this. Meng Yao said. I'm asking you now. We'll talk about my stuff later. Then I like him. Yushu nodded. Then have you ever thought that Linny already has Tang Yun and Feng Xiaoxiao by his side? Meng Yao seemed to be asking Yushu, but more importantly, it was a question she was asking herself. It was a question she had been struggling with. If she didn't reject him so much, would she be his girlfriend? Meng Yao thought about it, but there was no answer. There was no if in this world. It was all in the past. There was no use in ifs. It's not like there's another me, right? Yushu didn't seem to understand what Meng Yao meant at all. You won't be jealous? Meng Yao had no choice. She could only ask more clearly. Jealous? Yushu shook her head. If I was jealous, why would I let you be the main wife, Yao sis? Meng Yao really didn't know how to communicate with Yushu's nonsensical answers. Sometimes Yushu looked smarter than anyone else, but other times, Yushu would just change the topic no matter how you tried to explain things to her. Yushu didn't want to understand. Sometimes Meng Yao really admired Yushu. This girl wasn't simple. She thought about what she wanted to think about and didn't think about what she didn't want to think about at all. Yao sis, I actually understand what you're saying. Yushu suddenly changed her tone and put away the smile on her face. She said to Meng Yao. But sometimes thinking too much is a kind of pain. Tomorrow will have its own troubles tomorrow. Why worry about tomorrow? It's fine as long as we're happy today. I don't want to think too much. But, what about your future? Is it really like what you said? Tang Yun will be the main wife, and you and Xiaoxiao will be the small wives? Meng Yao felt a little dizzy. What would happen to her then? Future? That's too far. Yushu sighed and smiled. I don't want to think about it, hee. *J. Chapter 16:13. The Miss is sick. Meng Yao looked at the carefree Yushu and felt a little envious. Go to sleep, it's getting late. I heard that you have to go hiking tomorrow? Okay. Yushu nodded, smiling bitterly in her heart. Sometimes she didn't like being like this. It was around midnight when Yushu got up to go to the washroom. When she got up, she accidentally touched Meng Yao's body. Yushu's body temperature was higher than a normal person's, but Meng Yao had burned her. Yushu jumped in fright. Yao, what's wrong? Yushu touched Meng Yao's forehead subconsciously. It was even scarier. Yushu quickly turned on the bedside lamp and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi was practicing when his phone rang. He quickly came back to reality and picked it up. So, Lin Yi paused when he saw the caller ID. She was calling him in the middle of the night. What was going on? Shil bro, come quick. Yao, do you? Yushu couldn't catch her breath, and only got halfway through her sentence when Lin Yi jumped in shock. Yao wants? And she wants him to come quick? Lin Yi couldn't help but think of some evil things. But thinking was just thinking. Lin Yi subconsciously thought that Shu was joking. After all, Lin Yi knew Meng Yao's character very well. She wouldn't ask Yushu to call him in the middle of the night. With the Mrs. Soft Skin, she wouldn't ask Yushu for help even if she wanted to do something. And so Lin Yi quickly said, Shu, what's wrong? Take your time. What happened? Yao sis is going to burn to death. Yushu took a deep breath and said, Shield bro, come save her. She's having a fever. I'll be right there. Lin Yi guessed that it wasn't the case. He quickly put on his coat and got ready to leave after hearing that Meng Yao was sick. At this time, Kang Xiaobo was also awakened. He opened his eyes in confusion and looked at Lin Yi. He asked curiously, Boss, what's wrong? Yao is sick. I'll go over and take a look. You sleep? Lin Yi said to Kang Xiaobo. Do you need my help? Kang Xiaobo subconsciously asked. It's fine? Lin sighed. Mengyao was a girl after all, and it wouldn't be convenient for Kang Xiaobo to go. He and the miss, on the other hand, didn't have to avoid each other anymore. So much had happened after all. Alright, I'll wait here. If you need me to buy any medicine, just tell me, boss, and I'll go. Kang Xiaobo nodded. He rushed to Yushu's room and knocked on the door. It didn't take long for the door to open. Yushu was only wearing a thin silk pajamas, and her body was faintly discernible. Under the dim light, it made one's imagination run wild. However, Lin Yi only took one look and suppressed the evil thoughts in his heart. This kind of situation often happened at home, and Lin Yi had practiced to the point of turning a blind eye to it. It wasn't that Yushu didn't pay attention, but she made sure that there was only Lin Yi outside before opening the door. From her point of view, Lin Yi and Yao Yao had already seen everything. What was there to avoid? Of course, if Kang Xiaobo had come with him, Yushu wouldn't have opened the door so quickly. Shield bro, come quickly. Yushu closed the door and pulled Lin Yi into the room. Lin Yi followed Yushu into the room. Yushu wanted to turn on the light, but Lin Yi waved his hand and refused. This kind of dim bedside lamp was enough for Lin Yi to see clearly. There was no need to turn on the light, it would wake Mengyao up. No need to turn on the light, I'll take a look first. Lin Yi quickly walked to Mengyao's bedside. Mengyao was also wearing silk pajamas, very thin. Because Mengyao was lying on the bed, the 2 points on her chest were faintly discernible. Lin Yi only glanced at them unintentionally, and it was hard for him to move his eyes away. Although Lin Yi spent a lot of time with them, he usually wouldn't go upstairs, and Mengyao and Yushu wouldn't wear 2 revealing pajamas downstairs. But right now Lin Yi's breathing was rapid. Shield bro, you treat Yao Yao first, you can look after her when she's better. Yushu quickly reminded when she saw where Lin Yi was looking at. Ahem. Lin Yi didn't expect his actions to be noticed by Yushu, and he was embarrassed. He coughed twice and tried to explain himself. I'm just checking if there's anything wrong with Yao Yao's chest. I hope it's not pneumonia or emphysema. Lin Yi was just bullshitting. He didn't have X-ray vision, so how could he have seen it? But it was enough to fool Yushu a little to ease the awkwardness. Oh. Yushu realized that she'd misunderstood Lin Yi. That's right, Shield bro can look at it anytime he wants, there's no need to look at it now, there's plenty of opportunities at home. Shield bro, do you want me to take off Yao Yao sis's clothes before you take a look? It's not good, right? It's not pneumonia. Pfft. Lin Yi almost fainted at Yushu's words. He quickly waved his hand. Not yet, I'll take a look first, okay? Yushu was in too much of a rush, and didn't even realize that her words were inappropriate. Lin Yi took in a deep breath, calming himself down. He moved his eyes away and started feeling Mengyao's pulse like a doctor. It's just a cold? Lin Yi said with a sigh of relief. It's not a big deal. Did she catch a cold today? Yeah, Yao Yao and I turned the air conditioner to the max when you were neutralizing the poison, Shield bro. She might have caught a cold then. Yushu said after some thought. It's been hard on you guys. Lin Yi sighed as he took out his needles and used his pure qi to disinfect the poison. He poked Yao Yao's body a few times. She'll be fine after a while. It's not a big deal. With that, Lin Yi picked up his phone and dialed Kang Xiaobo's number. Boss, what do you need me to do? Kang Xiaobo was on standby, so he picked up immediately after Lin Yi's call. Go to the pharmacy in the resort and buy a box of cold capsules. If you don't have any, grab some herbs yourself. Ephedra, cassia twig, bramble mustard, scutularia, bitter almond, notopterygium. Lin Yi listed off a list of herbs. Okay, I'll go right now. Kang Xiaobo nodded. Chapter 16:14. There was really no problem. Lin Yi didn't need to brew his own medicine for a common cold. This was a prescription that had been used for thousands of years. There was no need to change it at all. There were a lot of medicines out there. Lin Yi would only brew his own if he didn't have any. Holy Hall Mengyao had been awake the whole time. She woke up when Shu told her that her body was burning up. But she had no energy and couldn't speak. Mengyao knew that Lin Yi's eyes were on her chest. The miss was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She almost fainted. But in her heart, there was a trace of joy. Did his chest look so good? Was it better than Shu's big cow? Otherwise, why would Lin Yi stare at her and not Yushu? How was she compared to Tang Yun? Eldest young miss was having a fever, and her mind liked to let her imagination run wild. The more she thought, things that Mengyao normally wouldn't think about when she was in a rational state of mind were all surging into her mind at this moment. But she was a little disappointed when he said that he was checking for pneumonia. Was he really checking for pneumonia? But that gaze didn't seem to be as simple as checking for pneumonia. Mengyao could clearly feel the color of a pervert in that gaze. But not only was Mengyao not angered by the pervert's gaze, she was even a little happy. Mengyao didn't even have time to think about it before the needles pierced into her body. Mengyao felt a cooling sensation all over her body, and it didn't feel as hot anymore. Looking at Lin Yi, Mengyao's half-closed eyes became blurry. 7*, shield bro, is that it? Is it just a simple cold? Yushu let out a sigh of relief when she heard that it was just a cold. Yeah, it's just a cold. Lin Yi nodded. Do you think it's something serious? Right, didn't you have the air conditioner in the afternoon? Do you feel any discomfort? Let me check for you. Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Shu was there too. If she caught a cold, then she should be treated as soon as possible. Yushu didn't seem to have any problems right now, but things like colds had different incubation periods. Some people would get sick right away while others might take a whole day to react. Me, I'm fine. My body temperature's a little higher than a normal person's, and the heat doesn't affect me at all. Yushu blinked, but a strange light flashed through her eyes. Alright. Shield bro, hurry up and give me a checkup. Check if I'm sick. Ha. Lin Yi smiled and said, give me your hand. Yushu reached out. Do I need to take off my clothes? My breasts are bigger than Yao sis. If I don't take them off, shield bro won't be able to see clearly, right? I don't want to get pneumonia. Lin Yi slipped and nearly fell to the ground. He rubbed his nose and bitterly smiled. There's no need for that. Your symptoms don't match, so there shouldn't be any. 7*. Oh? Yushu nodded, not too disappointed. She looked at Lin Yi a little anxiously. Shield bro, is there something wrong with me? No. Lin Yi gave Yushu a simple checkup. She didn't have any symptoms of a cold. You're very healthy. Your body is a little better than Yao's. I'm not sick. Yushu breathed out in relief. Shield bro, did you check me thoroughly? Of course. Lin Yi smiled. I can tell with one glance if it's a simple illness like this. What if I have other complicated illnesses? Yushu reached out her hand again. Shield bro, do you want to check me again? See if there are any other illnesses? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he still held Yushu's wrist and gave it a checkup. He shook his head. There's really nothing wrong, there's no pneumonia. Oh. Yushu was a little disappointed. Then do I need to take off my clothes and check again? No need, Lin Yi said. Mengyao, who was lying on the bed, was very unhappy when she heard Yushu's words. What did she mean by Yao's breasts were small, and she had big breasts? This Yushu was asking for a beating. Yushu was about to say something when someone knocked on the door. Lin Yi turned to Yushu. Wait here, I'll go open the door. It was probably Kang Xiaobo who came to deliver the medicine. It wasn't a good time for Yushu to show herself. Lin Yi opened the door. It was indeed Kang Xiaobo. Boss, the medicine is here. Kang Xiaobo was about to go in, but he hesitated. He passed the medicine to Lin Yi and said, I'll go back first. Okay, thanks. Lin Yi nodded and returned to the room with the medicine. He fed the medicine to Mengyao and put away the silver needles. Shu, you should rest early too. Yao is fine, she'll be fine when she wakes up tomorrow morning. Okay. Yushu knew that Lin Yi was leaving and waved at Lin Yi. After taking the medicine, Mengyao fell asleep very quickly. The next morning when Mengyao woke up, she felt refreshed. She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Thinking back, it was like a dream. If it wasn't for the box of flu soft capsules on the bedside, Mengyao would have thought that everything was just a dream. Looking at Shu, who was sleeping soundly, Mengyao didn't want to disturb her. She knew that Shu was busy last night and didn't sleep well, so she wanted to let her sleep a little longer. After some hesitation, Miss picked up her phone and sent a message to Lin Yi, but it was only 2 words, thank you. Lin Yi looked at the message in his hand and couldn't help but smile. Mrs. Personality? He replied casually, don't forget to take your medicine in the morning. Mengyao didn't reply again. It was obvious that she went to take her medicine. It was around 8 o'clock and Shu woke up. Seeing that there was no one beside her, she said in a daze, Yao sis. Shu, you're awake? Mengyao had just taken her medicine, so she went to wash up and put on her clothes. Yao sis, you're better? Yushu rubbed her eyes and sat up. What time is it? Didn't you say we're going hiking today? Can we make it in time? It's still early, it's only 8 o'clock. Didn't you say we'll meet at 9? Mengyao said, thank you for yesterday. Yao sis, why are you thanking me? Yushu said, thank you for Shield Bro. Yao sis, Shield Bro has saved you so many times, have you ever thought about repaying him with your body? You better take off your clothes and let him check his body. Mengyao curled her lips. Chapter 16:15. Chapter 16:14. A plan of coincidence, ah? Yao Yao, you heard everything? Yushu thought that Meng Yao had been asleep the whole night. I'm not deaf. Meng Yao smiled. The two joked around for a while before putting on their clothes and leaving the room, going to the lobby downstairs. Most of the students were already there, including Lin Yi and Kang Xiaobo. Meng Yao and Yushu walked over and Lin Yi said, "There's free breakfast over there, do you guys want some?" Xiaobo and I already ate. Nope, Shu and I just had some bread. Meng Yao shook her head. She had just recovered from a serious illness, and her appetite wasn't very good. Pinliang and Xiaofu's room. You always drop the ball at critical moments, kid. How did Meng Yao's tag end up in Lin Yi's hands? What did you do? Didn't I tell you to put it in the box? Pinliang saw how disgusted Xiaofu was yesterday, but he didn't lose his temper, holding it in until this morning. Liang bro, it's not my fault, I don't know what happened either. I did put the tag in the box, who knew how it ended up in Lin Yi's hands? Xiaofu said with a bitter face. Liang bro, I'm the unlucky one in the end, how could I make things difficult for myself? You're right. Pinliang waved his hand and sighed. That Lin Yi is a mystic, he might have some special tricks up his sleeves that we don't know about. I wanted to get closer to Meng Yao yesterday. Liang bro, should we go to plan B? Xiaofu saw the reluctance on Pinliang's face. He knew that Pinliang's lifelong dream was to be close to Meng Yao, and even though he knew that it was impossible for them to be together, it was still a grudge buried deep in Pinliang's heart. He didn't want to give it up. Plan B. Isn't it a little dangerous? Pinliang knew about Xiaofu's second plan, but he felt that it was more dangerous. Holy Hall, it's nothing. I've already inquired about it beforehand, there are people selling grass snakes nearby, they don't have any poison. When the time comes I'll be the bad guy and you'll be the good guy. Gao Xiaofu said, for Liang Ji, I don't mind doing some evil things. That's fine too. Pinliang thought about it. As long as he didn't come into contact with snakes, he wouldn't have to worry about getting bitten. Don't worry Liang bro. I'll just pretend that I let the snake bite Meng Yao by accident, and you'll be able to get intimate with her after you give her the drug. Xiaofu said. Lin Yi won't get the first one, will he? Pinliang was worried. Nope, when we get to the top of the mountain later, you'll teach everyone about first aid if they get bitten by a snake. I'll go with you and when Meng Yao gets bitten, you'll be the first one to rush to her rescue. It shouldn't be a problem. Xiaofu said. Alright. Then it's settled. Pinliang nodded, gritting his teeth. After the planning was done, the two went downstairs and organized everyone to climb the mountain behind the resort. Liang bro and I will lead everyone up the mountain later, but please be careful. There might be grass snakes on the mountain, but grass snakes aren't poisonous. There might be venomous snakes too, so if you get bitten by a grass snake or a venomous snake, please inform me or Liang bro immediately. Xiaofu said, Liang bro was worried that something might happen to you guys, so he learned some first aid knowledge in the wild, including how to deal with a snake bite. Liang bro is now a professional drug user, and he can suck out snake venom in no time. Liang bro really cares about us. The students were all touched by Xiaofu's words. They didn't expect Pinliang to not only spend money to invite them here, but he was also so thoughtful. Lin Yi listened to Xiaofu's words, a faint look of confusion flashing in his eyes. He didn't know what this guy was up to this time. Behind the resort was a small mountain. It wasn't too tall and it was half man-made, half natural. But for this resort it was a good place to relax. Today Boss Zhu deliberately found an excuse to bring Chen Shi to the mountain behind the resort. The reason was very simple. The people who climbed the mountain must have brought a lot of drinks. After drinking, they could pick up a lot of mineral water bottles and drink bottles. Chen Shi used to follow Boss Zhu to the beach, amusement park, and other places to pick up scraps on the weekends, so she didn't suspect anything this time. Moreover, it was said that selling grass snakes here could earn a lot of money. There were many local villagers selling grass snakes near the mountain. Grass snakes weren't poisonous and many tourists bought them as pets to play with, so the sales were quite good. Boss Zhu had asked about this before, and that was why he decided to sell grass snakes here. After thinking about it, he realized that it wasn't easy to get a grass snake that had eaten the 5-step powder to bite Lin Yi. It was a bit complicated, so it was easier to get Lin Yi to buy a grass snake and bite him. Of course, Boss Zhu was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't buy the snake from him, so he had Sihua bring a bunch of gangsters over to threaten and bribe them, chasing away all the other villagers who were selling the snakes. So Boss Zhu became the only one selling grass snakes here. Boss Zhu wasn't afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't buy it either. Since he knew Chen Shi, he should at least show some support since she was selling snakes here, right? Of course, Boss Zhu wasn't afraid that the grass snake wouldn't bite Lin Yi because other than the 5-step powder, He also fed it another kind of medicine, which made the grass snakes go crazy and bite people as soon as they were caught. Grandpa Zhu, selling grass snakes, can we earn money? Qinshi was a bit puzzled. They had never done any other business other than picking up scraps, but this time Grandpa Zhu was selling grass snakes for the first time, which made Qinshi feel strange. Yes. It's okay if we don't earn money, we can just try. This grass snake is a gift from your grandpa's friend anyway, it's free. Boss Zhu said. Oh, that's good. Qinshi nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Pinliang and Xiaofu walked in front, and the rest of the class followed behind. Xiaofu looked at the street along the way and noticed that there were quite a few souvenir vendors, but there were no vendors selling grass snakes. Xiaofu was puzzled. Something wasn't right? There were a lot of grass snakes on the street when he came to investigate, but why weren't there any today? Could it be that these people couldn't catch a single snake? Or was it bought by a restaurant to make a snake feast? Chapter 16:16. But no matter how hard Xiaofu looked, he couldn't find a single snake stall. Xiaofu, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say there was a snake? We've been walking for so long, why haven't we seen a single one? Pinliang's face wasn't looking too well. The plan was all set, but the props were gone. Liang bro, there really were a lot of snakes before, why aren't there any today? Gao Xiaofu said with a bitter face. You saw it the last time we came here for an inspection. The streets were full of snakes. Pinliang had indeed seen snakes last time, but he was still feeling uneasy. He humphed coldly. Why are you always dropping the ball at the most critical moments? What's going on? Keep looking. There must be. Xiaofu wiped the sweat off his forehead, a little ashamed. Liang bro, don't worry, I promise I'll find. Forget it, if there's really nothing then it's fine. Pinliang waved his hand helplessly, thinking that he'd just have to endure it for now. Once Zhang Naipeo came back, he'd crush Lin Yi beneath his feet, and Mengyao would be his, wouldn't she? No one would be able to protect her then. Even Jianghu was just a small character in front of an ancient sect like Pao Zi. There's a snake stall over there. Gao Xiaofu suddenly saw a stall not far away. It was an old man with a little girl and they were touching snakes there. There really is? Pinliang looked in the direction Xiaofu was pointing, and saw the snake stall as well. He quickly said, then why aren't you going? You want to bring a snake back? Yes. Xiaofu quickly ran over to the snake stall, speaking to the old man. Hey, how did you do that? Boss Zhu's goal here was to give the snakes to Lin Yi, not to anyone else, so he didn't set up his stall earlier, watching Lin Yi's group from afar before setting up his stall. He didn't think that someone would come along and try to steal the snakes. The snakes had been tampered with, so why would Boss Zhu give them to Xiaofu? He was just about to say no, but then he thought about it. If he said no, wouldn't Qinshi be suspicious? With that thought, Boss Zhu could only say, 2,000 a snake. What? Gao Xiaofu was stunned. What do you mean by 2,000 per snake? Did he think they were gold-plated snakes? He'd done some research before, and a snake was only 10 or 20 kwai, how could it be 2,000 a snake? Wasn't he trying to cheat them? 2,000 a snake. Don't be a nuisance if you don't want to. Boss Zhu saw that Lin Yi and the others were coming, and he didn't want to waste time with Xiaofu. He wanted to chase him away as soon as possible. Fermented, you old bastard, you're really evil. Xiaofu wanted to bargain, but he didn't expect the old man to chase him away. Xiaofu didn't know what to do. He thought to himself, 2,000 it is, since this old man was the only one here. Fine. 2,000? Here you go. Xiaofu took out his wallet, took out 2,000 kwai and threw it on the stall. He didn't have time to waste with the old man, and Mengyao was about to come over. 2,000 and you dare to cheat? Boss Zhu was so angry that he wanted to curse. You're a spendthrift, aren't you? You have nowhere to spend your money, right? Spending 2,000 for a damn snake? You can hire people to go up the mountain and catch a basket of them for you. Qinshi's eyes widened. She didn't expect a snake to be worth 2,000 kwai. Previously, when Zhu Yinya quoted this price, Qinshi was shocked, thinking that Zhu Yinya might have said something wrong. This snake was a gift from someone else and it didn't cost anything. There was no cost. Besides, even if it was a snake, it wouldn't be this expensive. She wanted to question the price, but this old man in front of her really did it. Why do you have so much bullshit to say, you old man? Here's the money, give me the snake. Xiaofu was furious. It was one thing for this old man to cheat, but now he didn't even want to cheat after taking the money? Was it too little? It's so expensive and you're even cheating? Boss Zhu was speechless. Why did he have to meet a mental patient at such a crucial time? Old man, are you crazy? Fine, I'll take it myself. Gao Xiaofu ignored Boss Zhu. He directly took out a snake from his snake box, turned around and left. If Boss Zhu wanted to stop Gao Xiaofu, it was not too late. With his earth-ranked skills, stopping Gao Xiaofu was a piece of cake. However, the problem was that Lin Yi was not far away. If he revealed his strength and was discovered by Lin Yi, then his future plans would not work. Therefore he could only watch as Xiaofu took away a snake. He sighed in his heart. It seemed that he would not be able to complete his plan today. Gao Xiaofu had studied the snake before, and he had also inquired about the characteristics of the snake. He knew how to hold the snake. The snake wouldn't bite, and he also knew how to stimulate the snake to make it bite. However, when he happily ran back with the snake, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his arm. When he looked down, he found that the snake had bitten him. Ah! Xiaofu screamed in pain. He couldn't understand why the snake would suddenly bite him. Previously he had specially learned how to catch a snake from those people, but today it was ineffective. He didn't know that Boss Zhu had fed the snake and turned it into a crazy snake. Gao Xiaofu felt the pain and subconsciously threw the snake away. The snake whizzed into the thicket on the mountain and disappeared. The bite wound on Xiaofu's arm was swollen as if he had been poisoned. Looking at his arm, Gao Xiaofu was shocked. Aren't these snakes supposed to have no D*CK? Even if he was bitten, there shouldn't be such an obvious reaction. Could it be that it was a poisonous snake that bit him? While Liangzi, Xiaofu was bitten by a snake. Hurry up and help him. Yushu said excitedly when she saw Xiaofu jumping in pain. Hurry up and show me how to save him. Ah! Pinliang froze as well. He never would have thought that Xiaofu would get bitten by a snake, not by a snake but by a poisoned snake, no less. Pinliang, hurry up and take a look. What should we do? Aren't you a professional in dealing with poisonous snakes? The other students remembered Xiaofu's words before they left, so they quickly turned to Pinliang. Yeah, Zhong Pinliang, look, Gao Xiaofu looks like he's in a lot of pain. Hurry up and help him get the snake out. You're the only one among us who knows how to do this. Another student said anxiously. Chapter 16-17. Ugh. Pinliang didn't know what to do. If he went, he was afraid that the snake was venomous. What would happen to him if he sucked the venom into his mouth? But if he didn't go, he'd already let Xiaofu brag about it, and Xiaofu was his brother. He wouldn't be able to raise his head in the eyes of others if he didn't care for his brother. Zhang Naipeo was loyal to him, but that was also the result of him putting on a show. This time it was Gao Xiaofu's turn. If he could help Xiaofu suck the venom, then Xiaofu would be even more loyal to him in the future. Pinliang, on the other hand, saw that Xiaofu wasn't dead or unconscious after all this time. The venom probably wasn't that strong, so he gritted his teeth and charged over. In fact, the 5-step dispersing powder didn't cause much harm to ordinary people other than cultivators. At most, it would just cause some swelling. However, the drug that Boss Zhu added to make the poisonous snake crazy was harmful to the human body. After it entered the human body, if it wasn't removed quickly, it would cause shortness of breath and increase heartbeat. There was even a risk of suffocation and fainting. However, this was only for ordinary people. For cultivators, this kind of poison didn't have much effect, because cultivators' resistance was relatively strong. And so, the unlucky Xiaofu started twitching and breathing heavily after a few cries of pain. Pinliang jumped when he saw this. Oh my god, could it be that the snake venom is acting up? There had to be something lethal in the venom. But Pinliang was scared and he was already beside Xiaofu. If he went back on his words now, he'd lose even more face. Losing face was a small thing, but it wouldn't be good if Xiaofu was unhappy with him. Pao wasn't with him right now, and Xiaofu was the only person Pinliang could use. Plus, if he really didn't save Xiaofu and Naipeo found out about this, what would Naipeo think? Pinliang felt that Naipeo was loyal to him and nothing would happen to him, but he was afraid that the stronger Naipeo got, the harder it would be to control him. Winning over people's hearts was the only way. Back then he had relied on winning people's hearts to make Naipeo loyal to him. At that thought, Pinliang pounced at Xiaofu without hesitation, grabbing Xiaofu's arm that was bitten by the snake and starting sucking on the wound with his mouth. Gao Xiaofu was instantly moved to tears. If he could, he'd rather suck snake venom himself than let Pinliang take the risk. However, he was bitten by the snake on the back of his arm near his shoulder. He wasn't a giraffe, so it was impossible for him to suck on that part. He could only rely on others to help him. Brother Liang, you really treat us subordinates too well. I finally understand why Pao Zi is so loyal. Gao Xiaofu was touched. Brother Liang really didn't care about his own safety. Last night, Gao Xiaofu was still a little dissatisfied with the fact that Lianggu asked him to play safe kisses with the two fat girls. He felt that Lianggu was using him as a shield. But now it seemed that he still had to rely on Lianggu in critical moments. It was normal for Lianghu to ask his lackeys to do something harmless like last night, but when something really big happened, Lianghu was the first one to rush up. Gao Xiaofu swore to himself that he would become Liang Ji's right-hand man like Pao Zi, helping Lianghu fight his enemies. Pin Liang spat out a few mouthfuls of snake venom, his lips swollen into the shape of sausages. Wow, Liang's mouth is so cool. It's like a butt. Yushu laughed at Pin Liang's condition. 7 asterisk. Pft. A student who was drinking water spat it out, almost choking to death. The rest of the people laughed along with him. Pin Liang was pissed as he glared at Yushu hatefully. He swore to himself, "You big cow, I'll play you to death one day. That's what you get for messing with me and humiliating me." But now Pin Liang still had to suck the snake venom for Gao Xiaofu. "Grandpa Zhu, something's wrong? That grass snake, why did it bite? It's poisonous too?" Chen, she said worriedly as she looked at Gao Xiaofu and Pin Liang. "Yeah, it looks like it's poisonous. Let's run, we don't want to get into trouble." Boss Zhu's face was a little gloomy. A good plan had been ruined by the sudden appearance of Gao Xiaofu. This made Boss Zhu so angry that he wanted to slap this brat to death. But there was nothing he could do under everyone's watchful eyes. The only thing he could do now was to leave and think of other ways to mess with Lin Yi later. Gao Xiaofu had been bitten by a snake, and if he sold the snake to Lin Yi wouldn't buy it. He wouldn't take it even if it was free. However, just as Boss Zhu was about to escape with Chen Shi, he caught a glimpse of the 2,000 yuan that Gao Xiaofu had thrown on top of the bamboo basket. Boss Zhu was overjoyed and a good plan came to his mind. Boss Zhu looked at Chen Shi with bad intentions, and then pretended to take the money, but he accidentally knocked the money into the bamboo basket, and it fell together with the grass snakes. "Grandpa Zhu, the money fell." Chen Shi saw that Boss Zhu had accidentally dropped the money into the bamboo basket. "Quick, pick it up and let's go, we don't want the snake anymore," Boss Zhu said to Chen Shi. This money, shouldn't it be returned to the person who bought the snake?" Chen Shi was a bit hesitant. She was a kind person. Now that the snake had bitten someone, if she took the money and left, wouldn't that be a bit too unkind? Although it was a transaction between two parties, and one was willing to buy and the other was willing to sell, Chen Shi felt that she was in the wrong and didn't want the money, even though it wasn't a small amount. "Then pick it up and return it to him, we'll run." Boss Zhu didn't care. As long as Chen Shi picked up the money, he didn't care if she returned the money or not. "Okay." Chen Shi reached out to pick up the money, but she didn't expect that when her hand touched the money in the bamboo basket, she screamed. Her hand had been bitten by the snake in the bamboo basket. Chen Shi subconsciously pulled her hand out, but the wound on her hand was bleeding, and it swelled up instantly. Chen Shi was scared and didn't know what to do. "Xiaoxi, why are you so careless?" Boss Zhu pretended to be anxious and screamed, "What should we do, what should we do? There's no doctor here, Xiaoxi, stand here and don't move. Grandpa will go to the nearby health center to find a doctor for you." Chapter 16:18. After that, Zhu Laoda ran down the mountain without bringing Chen Shi along. Zhu Laoda had a good plan in his mind. He was very proud of his impromptu plan. Didn't Lin Yi know Chen Shi? Are they close? "Now that I'm gone, you can't just leave Chen Shi alone, right? You're the only one here who knows her, so you can help her suck out the snake venom. When you suck out the snake venom, the 5-step powder will also be sucked into your mouth. Even if you spit it out, it'll be useless, the medicine will be absorbed instantly." Lin Yi had been watching the whole thing unfold. First of all, Chen Shi and Zhu Laoda selling snakes here made Lin Yi feel strange. Zhu Laoda had bad intentions, Lin Yi knew that, but what surprised Lin Yi was that after a few days, Zhu Laoda became an Earth-class master. Of course, Lin Yi didn't think that Chen Shi was in cahoots with Zhu Laoda. First of all, Lin Yi knew Chen Shi's personality. Second, Zhu Laoda wanted to harm Chen Shi's mother, so Chen Shi wouldn't be in cahoots with him. If Zhu Laoda was a poor scavenger like Chen Shi, then selling grass snakes here, Lin Yi wouldn't find it strange. But Zhu Laoda was an Earth-class master selling grass snakes here, this was a bit strange. Before, when Gao Xiaofu went to buy the snake, Zhu Laoda didn't want to sell it. This was also seen by Lin Yi, so Lin Yi felt that there might be a problem with the snake. Now that Gao Xiaofu was bitten, the wound was swollen and his breathing was rapid, it proved this point. With Lin Yi's experience of living in the wild, this type of grass snake was not poisonous, so it was impossible for it to have the symptoms Gao Xiaofu had. Zhu Laoda saw that Chen Shi was bitten, but not only did he not save her, but he also ran away. This made Lin Yi smell a conspiracy. Chen Shi's face became more and more unsightly, and her breathing became more rapid. It looked like she could not hold on any longer and was about to faint on the ground. Of course, everyone's attention was on Gao Xiaofu and Pin Liang, No one paid attention to Qin Shi. Lin Yi sighed. It seemed like he was forced to make a move. As for Zhu Laoda's intentions, Lin Yi more or less guessed it. If Lin Yi didn't know that Boss Zhu was an Earth class, he wouldn't have thought so much about it. But now that he thought about Boss Zhu's actions, he realized how fake it was. Lin Yi didn't know what Boss Zhu's goal was, but it was true that he wanted to harm Qin Shi and her daughter. Lin Yi didn't know Boss Zhu's background and goal, so he didn't act rashly. Zhu Lao Qin, he said. Lin Xiao Laoda is. Lin Shi Shi Lin Laoda Qin, Lin Qin Lin Lao Shi, Lin said, Lin, ah. Lin Yi bro. Qin Shi blushed when she saw Lin Yi suddenly appear. She was a little shy and her breathing became more rapid. Qin Shi was surprised and happy. Lin Yi bro, you're here too? Yeah. Lin Yi quickly took out his silver needles and sealed a few acupuncture points on Qin Shi's body to prevent the poison from spreading. He then grabbed Qin Shi's finger and started sucking. Lin Yi didn't think much about it. After all, normal poisons didn't have much effect on Lin Yi. Lin Yi also saw Zhang Naipeo and Pinliang's situation. Both of them seemed to have been poisoned a little, but they hadn't fainted yet. This meant that the poison wasn't too strong. And so Lin Yi used his mouth to help Qin Shi suck the poison. Of course, when Lin Yi touched Qin Shi's wound, the jade gave a warning. Lin Yi didn't mind. It was normal for the jade to give a warning. Qin Shi saw Lin Yi sucking the poison for her and felt a little shy. She felt very sweet inside. Qin Shi had always lived at the bottom of society, barely having enough to eat. She didn't have the heart to think about love. In school, Qin Shi was pretty, but with a big sis like Ziyu protecting her, no one dared to do anything to her. As a result, Qin Shi's life had been very peaceful, and there were no disturbances in her life. But which girl didn't want love? In the dead of night, Qin Shi would occasionally fantasize that a Prince Charming would appear in front of her in the future. However, this Prince Charming really did appear in Qin Shi's life. From the first time Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao helped her, to the time Lin Yi took care of her family, Qin Shi had a good impression of Lin Yi from the bottom of her heart. But Qin Shi knew that Lin Yi had a girlfriend and that the girlfriend was very pretty. How could Qin Shi do anything to hurt Xiao Xiao? And so, although Ziyu saw through her feelings, she still buried it deep in her heart. She didn't dare say it out loud and could only think about it occasionally. Qin Shi's wound affected her nerves and the pain made her moan. But after the moan, Qin Shi's face turned red. Would Lin Yi think that it was something else? Or would he think that she was seducing him? Girls were fragile and she was afraid that Lin Yi would look down on her. In reality, it was just a moan of pain. What would Lin Yi think of? It was really Qin Shi who was worrying about nothing. Lin Yi sucked out the poisonous blood from Qin Shi's wound and spat it on the ground. He wanted to take out some medicine to stop the bleeding, but the next moment, Lin Yi's face turned ugly. Because Lin Yi suddenly felt that the qi in his body was like a leaking balloon, quickly disappearing. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi went from late phase peak to mystic peak, and it didn't seem to stop. The qi was still disappearing, late phase, mid-phase peak, mid-phase. In just a short amount of time, Lin Yi had become a mystic mid-phase. There was something wrong with the snake venom. Lin Yi thought of the snake venom immediately. After all, the only thing he had contact with was the snake venom in Qin Shi's body. So the person who did this had to be Boss Zhu. Could it be that Boss Zhu wanted to harm him? That was possible. If he didn't suddenly get involved in Qin Shi's family's life, Qin Shi's mother would probably be dead already. Although Lin Yi didn't know what Boss Zhu's goal was, he'd clearly ruined his plan, so it was normal for him to do something to him. Lin Yi bro, what's wrong? Qin Shi saw that Lin Yi's face didn't look too good all of a sudden, and she jumped in fright. Could it be that her moan really made Lin Yi think that she was trying to seduce him? Chapter 16-19. Qin Shi was a little scared. Lin Yi big bro, I was in a bit of pain just now, so I screamed. I didn't mean it. It's nothing. Lin Yi paused, not understanding what Qin Shi was talking about. He waved his hand. The poison in your body should be fine now. I'll apply some injury medicine and your wound will be healed. Fortunately, this wasn't the first time that Lin Yi had lost his strength. Lin Yi didn't look too good, but he didn't go crazy. After Qin Shi's question, Lin Yi returned to normal. He was a practitioner, so he would lose strength. Pinliang, Gao Xiaofu, and Qin Shi obviously weren't practitioners, so naturally they wouldn't have this problem. Lin Yi wasn't worried at all. After applying the injury medicine, Qin Shi's wound was no longer swollen, but Lin Yi's strength was slipping away rapidly. Thank you, Lin Yi big bro. Feeling the coolness of her wound, Qin Shi knew that she was fine. She knew that Lin Yi was a skilled healer. He could even cure her mother's terminal illness, so this snake venom was nothing to him. But she didn't know that Lin Yi had lost all his strength in order to suck the snake venom for her. Pin Liang, on the other hand, had finished sucking the snake venom for Gao Xiaofu. He saw that Lin Yi had injury medicine and wanted to ask for some, but he was too embarrassed to ask. He was afraid that Lin Yi would reject him. After all, Lin Yi must have known about the drugging scene last night. Lin Yi saw Pin Liang's pleading look and smiled faintly. He tossed the injury medicine to him. Although Lin Yi didn't like Pin Liang's apology yesterday was done in front of everyone, so the students didn't know about it. It was fine if Lin Yi was being stingy, but he was with Mingyao, Yushu and Kang Xiaobo. Lin Yi didn't want to embarrass them, so he didn't care about something as innocuous as this. Pin Liang was surprised by Lin Yi's actions, but after thinking about it, he understood what was going on. He nodded silently and went to apply the medicine for Gao Xiaofu. When they were done, Boss Zhu ran up, panting. Behind him was a doctor in a white coat. No one knew where he got him from. Lin Yi curled his lips. With this speed, Qin Shi would have fainted by the time he got back. An Earth-class master running slower than a normal person? Who would believe that? But Lin Yi didn't expose him. At this moment, Lin Yi just wanted to find a quiet place to recover his strength. Right now, Lin Yi wasn't a match for Boss Zhu. Even a normal practitioner wouldn't be a match for him. Because Lin Yi's strength had dropped from Mystic to Golden class. Lin Yi looked at Boss Zhu, who was acting as if nothing had happened. He turned to Qin Shi. Shi, go back and rest well, I'll be leaving first. Okay, goodbye Lin Yi big bro. Qin Shi didn't want to leave, but she had no reason to keep Lin Yi. Holy hall, goodbye. Lin Yi didn't have any intention of meeting Boss Zhu face to face. He took the opportunity to leave before Boss Zhu arrived. Boss Zhu? Just wait and see, this time I've been tricked by you, we'll settle this later. When the noble house meeting is over, I'll have plenty of time to play with you. Lin Yi turned around and walked to Mingyao, Yushu and Kang Xiaobo's side. On the other side, Gao Xiaofu was bitten by the snake, and Pin Liang's mouth was swollen like a sausage. Naturally, no one wanted to continue climbing the mountain, and they were discussing how to go back. Pin Liang and Xiaofu looked fine, but they still wanted to go to the hospital for a checkup. They didn't want any poison left in their bodies and it would affect them in the future. And so, the group walked down the mountain. Lin Yi said goodbye to Kang Xiaobo, and drove back to Songshan with Mingyao and Yushu. Shield bro, aren't we going somewhere else to play? Yushu wasn't satisfied. It was rare for them to come out and play, but because of the snake they had to end the reunion in a hurry. Shu, Lin Yi doesn't seem to be feeling well, don't mess around. The miss was more attentive and she could see the displeasure on Lin Yi's face. She asked with concern, Lin Yi, what's wrong? What's wrong? There's something wrong with the snake venom, and my strength is rapidly disappearing. I'm only at the early phase of golden class now, and it's still dropping. Lin Yi didn't hide anything and told the truth to Mingyao and Yushu. Lin Yi didn't need to hide anything from the people around him. They wouldn't sell him out. Mingyao was shocked. Your strength is gone again? What do we do? Can you recover? You're not going to leave again this time, are you? I should be able to recover, there's no need for me to leave. Lin Yi was amused by Mingyao's words, and a smile appeared on his dark face. But this poison is really strange and we don't even know who the culprit is or which force they're from. That's good. Mingyao breathed in relief. That Qin Shi, you know her? Is she trying to harm you? It wasn't strange that Mingyao would misunderstand Qin Shi after all, it was too much of a coincidence. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed like Qin Shi was working with Lin Yi. Yeah, I know her, but it's not her. Lin Yi could basically confirm that Qin Shi was innocent, and the problem was that Boss Zhu. Qin Shi, on the other hand, was just a poor victim. And so, Lin Yi told Mingyao and Yushu how he met Qin Shi. Ah, so that's how we met, she's such a poor girl. Mingyao couldn't help but feel sympathetic after hearing about Qin Shi's background. That Ying Ziyu, who is she? Lin Yi mentioned Ying Ziyu a bit when he was talking about Qin Shi, so Mingyao asked about her. Ying Ziyu? Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh at the mention of the girl. You guys know what I used to do, I'm a mercenary. Otherwise, Uncle Chu wouldn't have hired me to protect you guys. Yeah, I know you're an assassin and bodyguard. Yushu nodded. Ah, something like that. Lin Yi nodded. Ying Ziyu's brother was one of my subordinates when I was a mercenary, he was my comrade in arms, fighting alongside me. Lin Yi told Mingyao and Yushu about the pangolin. This was Lin Yi's secret, and Lin Yi wouldn't tell anyone about it. Target equals underconnect. Chapter 1620. The Heart? Chapter 1619. Very strange, but Mingyao and Yushu were now the closest people to Lin Yi outside of Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao, so naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't hide this from them. Holy Church, ah. Her brother was your comrade. And he's probably sacrificed himself. That girl is so pitiful. Meng Yao felt that Ziyu was even more pitiful than Qin Shi. She didn't even have a family left. You're saying that we should send them to Songshan's first school? I'll have to talk to Faubert and ask him to take care of them. The Miss still had the authority to do this, and while Lin Yi could do it, it was still good to let the Miss do some good deeds. Since she knew that Lin Yi's strength was disappearing, Yushu didn't mention anything about going elsewhere anymore. She sat in the car and went straight back to House Chu's villa. Boss, you're back so early? How was it? Did you have fun? Qin Tian was in charge of the house. He was now a follower, bodyguard, and housekeeper. He was probably by Lin Yi's side, becoming Faubert's number 2. I need to go into isolation. You're in charge of the safety of the house. Lin Yi waved his hand, not replying to Qin Tian. Don't disturb me during this time. Yes. Qin Tian didn't understand, but seeing how serious Lin Yi was, he didn't ask. He nodded seriously. Boss, don't worry. Leave the house to me. The heart. Lin Yi had 100% confidence in Qin Tian, and after that he quickly went into his room and closed the door. Sisters-in-law, what's going on with Lin Yi's boss? Is he breaking through? Qin Tian asked after Lin Yi entered the room. Lin Yi's in some trouble. I think he's been poisoned. His strength's gone and he needs to recover. Meng Yao didn't want to hide anything from Qin Tian, but she didn't know much. She told him what Lin Yi had told her. Boss's strength disappeared again? But Qin Tian didn't mind. Then it should be fine. Boss healed me when I was crippled, so he must have his own ways. I hope so. Meng Yao nodded as she prayed for Lin Yi, hoping that nothing bad would happen to him. When Lin Yi returned to his room, the strength in his body had completely disappeared. At this time he was no different from an ordinary person. Lin Yi had never thought that this snake's venom would be so overbearing that it could actually disperse a cultivator's Jin Qi. Although Lin Yi had heard of similar poisons before, they were considered to be unorthodox, and Lin Yi hadn't done any research on them. Now that he had encountered it, he really didn't know how to deal with it. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the jade as a cheat, and that was why Lin Yi had nothing to fear. Otherwise, the strength would be gone, and if it were any other cultivator, even if they were crippled, it would be extremely difficult for them to recover. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. He sat down cross-legged and entered the jade space, preparing to start training from the beginning. This wasn't the first time he had lost all his strength, so Lin Yi wasn't nervous. He started the art of dragon mastery, and very soon the energy in the jade space was mobilized, turning into pure qi and entering Lin Yi's body. When the energy turned into pure qi, it gradually accumulated in Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi finally let out a breath of relief. It seemed that this cheat of his was really something. As long as his meridians were fine, even if he lost all his strength, he could still slowly recover. This situation was similar to the last time he fought with Zhang Naipeo. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush and he continued training step by step, golden class early phase, peak early phase, mid phase. Lin Yi rushed all the way to peak late phase in just a few hours. Lin Yi's training speed was probably unprecedented. What inheritance, what chrysanthemum scripture. None of them could match Lin Yi's training speed. But when Lin Yi was breaking through to mystic class, something strange happened. From peak late phase to mystic early phase, Lin Yi didn't have to do much, but just as he reached mystic early phase, the strange scene happened again. The pure qi that Lin Yi had just accumulated in his body was like a flood breaking through a dam, quickly draining away. In a moment, Lin Yi's strength dropped to peak late phase. Then it was late phase, mid phase. All the way, Lin Yi was about to become an early phase golden class practitioner. Lin Yi was shocked and quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery, wanting to absorb the energy in the jade space to make up for the loss of pure qi. But the speed of the loss of pure qi was far faster than Lin Yi's training speed. The energy that was replenished couldn't make up for the loss. And so, tragedy befell Lin Yi. In a blink of an eye, became a normal person again. Lin Yi was completely flabbergasted at the strangeness of the situation. What was going on? How could the strength that he had just cultivated disappear in just a short while? Lin Yi sat in the jade space, his face unreadable. This was the first time he'd ever come across something as strange as this. He was fine before, so why did his strength disappear the moment he reached mystic class? Lin Yi gritted his teeth and thought for a moment. He didn't want to believe this. Lin Yi channeled the art of dragon mastery again, planning to start from scratch as a normal person and start all over again. And so Lin Yi's strength began to increase again, and this time the strength didn't disappear so quickly. His pure qi could be accumulated bit by bit, and soon Lin Yi became an early phase golden class master. This situation made Lin Yi sigh in relief, and he continued to train hard. And so, early phase golden class peak, mid phase golden class, all the way to late phase golden class peak. Linny was starting to get a little nervous at this point. The last time was when he was at the peak of the late phase of the golden class. Would something happen again this time? But it seemed that the more he worried about something, the more it would happen. The moment Lin Yi broke through to early phase mystic class, the tragedy of strength disappearing once again befell Lin Yi. The strength in Lin Yi's body began to disappear rapidly for no reason. And this time, Lin Yi didn't even channel the art of dragon mastery to resist because the speed was too fast. It was faster than his training speed and resisting was futile. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1621. There's a problem. There's definitely a problem. After 2 confirmations, Lin Yi could confirm that the snake venom wasn't as simple as he thought it was. It was far more potent than he had imagined. The snake venom in Lin Yi's body wasn't like what Lin Yi had expected. It wasn't spat out or dissolved by pure qi, but it remained in his body. Not only did it remain in his body, but it was also causing havoc in his body, making it impossible for Lin Yi to train normally. Now Lin Yi didn't need to train anymore. The most important thing now was to figure out what this poison was and how to deal with it. If he couldn't deal with it, then wouldn't he be stuck at the peak of the late phase of the golden class forever? This made Lin Yi break out in cold sweat. It seemed like he had been too careless. Boss Zhu wasn't simple after all. Lin Yi gritted his teeth in anger, but there was nothing he could do. Knowing that there would be no result even if he continued to train, Lin Yi quickly calmed down. He was a medical expert and old Lin was even more of an expert. Although he didn't know much about these sinister tricks, it didn't mean that old Lin didn't know about them. Lin Yi vaguely remembered that he had seen this kind of poison in a medical book. The effect was similar to the snake venom he had today, but this type of poison was mostly used by those sinister medical sections. Thinking about this, Lin Yi thought of Yao Wang. This boss Zhu's style of doing things was quite similar to Yao Wang's. At least this poison was quite in line with Yao Wang's style. This old thing specialized in those harmful drugs. Jiao Lao, what's my situation? Before asking old Lin, Lin Yi decided to ask Jiao Yazi first to see if he had any experience. Holy Hall, you're poisoned, aren't you? Jiao Yazi said nonchalantly, aren't you a medical expert? Just think of a way to cure it. What's the use of asking me? I mean, can you detoxify this poison? Lin Yi asked with a bitter smile. Meh. Jiao Yazi shook his head. I'm not good at this. If you can't refine it with your true qi, it's useless to look for me. I'm only good at treating and detoxifying methods that don't require medicinal herbs. I don't know anything about those that require medicinal herbs. In that case, alright then. Lin Yi nodded. What Jiao Lao said was probably the truth. Jiao Lao was quite familiar with Jin Qi and the acupoints of the human body. However, he lacked knowledge in the field of pharmacology. Lin Yi exited the space in the jade pendant. Although it was already very late, he still dialed old Lin's number. Little E? What are you doing? Sleepwalking? Old Lin was still in a daze from sleep. He was still a little groggy when he picked up the phone. 7 asterisk, old man, don't sleep anymore. Something big has happened. Lin Yi said anxiously. Fire? Earthquake? A UFO? Old Lin woke up immediately and realized that there was nothing. He couldn't help but get angry. Are you crazy? Why are you calling me in the middle of the night? What's going on? Old man, I'm crippled. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. What? Crippled? How did he get crippled? Did you overdo it or did someone kick you out? Old Lin asked. Lin Yi was speechless. I said I'm crippled. Aren't you often crippled? Trash is even better. Old Lin smacked his lips and said. It's different this time. I think I was poisoned and my strength disappeared. Lin Yi said, and it's different from usual. Once I reach the early phase of mystic class, my true qi will disappear again. With that, Lin Yi told old Lin everything that had happened to him and his current condition in detail. I see. Old Lin frowned after hearing Lin Yi's story. If I'm not wrong, you were poisoned by the 5-step powder. 5-step powder? Why does it sound like half-step powder? Is that a name from a Wuxia novel? Lin Yi blinked. You can say that. Within 5 steps, the poison will take effect and dissipate all the power in the body. Old Lin said, but this 5-step dispersal powder is only effective on mystic class cultivators, and has no effect on earth class and above. Earth class cultivators can dissolve the poison on their own after being poisoned, and there won't be any signs of losing their power. No way. I'm a mystic late phase peak, just 1 step away from earth class. How can I be so unlucky? Lin Yi understood. No wonder Boss Zhu wasn't afraid of hurting himself when he was playing with the grass snake. He was already in Earth class and didn't care about these things anymore. You can say that. Old Lin said, "You're unlucky." Then why didn't I have any side effects before I reached Mystic class? Linny asked curiously. Aha, I already said that this poison only works on Mystic class cultivators. So if you're not Mystic class, the poison won't take effect. Naturally, there won't be any side effects. Old Lin said, "Do you understand now?" "I see." Linny said, "Then Old Lin, since you understand it so well, you should have a way to cure it, right?" Linny heard that Old Lin's tone wasn't nervous or panicked at all. He knew that Old Lin must have a way to cure it, so he relaxed a little. Otherwise, he'd be stuck at Golden Class late phase peak for the rest of his life. That would be too much of a joke. "Yes, and there are two kinds," Boss Lin said in an unfathomable tone. "So, why don't you tell me?" Lin Yi felt even more relaxed after hearing that there were two solutions. Even if one didn't work, there was another backup. The first solution is to make the antidote. I have the prescription for the antidote and you can concoct it yourself. But, Old Man Lin paused for a moment. "But what? Is there a problem?" Linny asked quickly. "But in this antidote prescription, there is a relatively rare herb." Old Lin said. "Rare? It wouldn't be the same as the fire spirit's fruit, would it?" Linny paused and asked. "That's not it." Old Lin shook his head. "I've never heard of the fire spirit's fruit, but some experienced doctors know about this herb. It's grown in my herb garden, and I have the seeds of this herb." "Then what's the but? Isn't there no problem?" Linny was confused. "There isn't a problem, but you should have heard of this herb. It's called spring grass," Lin Dongfang said faintly. Chapter 1622. Spring grass. Linny repeated the name of the herb, and his face turned extremely ugly. And at this moment he finally understood what Old Lin's but meant. Spring grass, as the name suggested, was a type of herb that grew in spring. It would wither right after spring, but the medicinal properties of this herb were all in the juice. In other words, only the fresh and tender spring grass juice would be effective. A withered spring grass would be the same as an ordinary withered grass. It was worthless. At this time, spring had already passed and the spring grass had already withered. This meant that if Linny wanted to cure the poison, he would have to wait until spring next year. If it were in the past, Linny could wait, but not this year. This year, Linny had a lot of important things to do. First, the Noble House meeting was about to start, and Linny had to raise his strength to Earth class before the meeting, and then forcefully raise his lackeys Qin Yutian, Wu Qintian, and Lingshan to Earth class, and cause trouble for House Yu during the meeting. But now that he didn't have the strength, a Golden class late phase peak bringing a few mystic early phase masters to cause trouble, that wasn't just looking for trouble, it was looking for death. And this wasn't the most important thing. The second stone door was about to open, and Linny had become a half cripple. How was he going to carry out the 5-year promise? Although the stone door seemed to only recognize the level of one's practitioner's arts and not strength, who knew if there would be trouble? Third, now that Linny had become a golden class, those who had grudges with Linny would all rush over to cause trouble for Linny after hearing the news, wouldn't they? So Linny had to recover his strength before the news spread. Linny couldn't wait that long. Sacra, I say, old man, don't trick me. Hurry up and tell me the second method. Although the first method is feasible, I can't wait. Linny said. Alright, but the second method is more difficult. Since you want to know, I'll tell you. Old Lin paused for a moment before continuing. As long as you cultivate to the Earth class, the poison from the 5-step dispersal powder will be neutralized by itself. You don't need to take any antidote at all. It's a natural treatment with no side effects. Linny was stunned. I can't even pass the mystic rank now. You want me to directly cultivate to the Earth rank? Isn't that a joke? How is this possible? How would I know? Old Man Lin rolled his eyes and said, I only told you the solution in the medical book. You're asking me how to cultivate, but how am I supposed to know? I think it's for you to absorb enough pure qi from the peak of the late phase of the golden class. You'll be able to surpass the early phase of the mystic class, the peak of the early phase of the mystic class, the peak of the mid phase of the mystic class, the late phase of the mystic class, and the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. Old man, do you think that's possible? Linny didn't know what to say. It was already so difficult for him to reach the peak of the late phase of the mystic class from the late phase of the mystic class, let alone the earth class. If Linny was an earth class before he lost his strength, then it might be possible for him to break through in one go. But now Linny felt that this method was too unrealistic. Impossible. 7*. Old Lin said straightforwardly. Linny paused. So, you can bring your first wife, second wife, and whatnot back to hide. Here, I don't dare say much about other things, but I do have some influence among the hidden houses. As long as you don't mess with the ancient sects, you won't be much of a threat. Old Lin said, plus you have the Ice Palace master wife protecting you, so the ancient sects will give you some face. Come back and hide. Linny almost fainted. Hide? Are you kidding me? And who would even know who Xiao Xiao is? Old man, can you stop messing with me? The Ice Palace had made it very clear that Bing Tang wouldn't stand up for me. At least before Xiao Xiao becomes a Sky Realm expert, Bing Tang wouldn't go against the other ancient aristocratic families or sects for me. Unless Xiao Xiao controls the Ice Palace. Besides, I have a lot of grievances to settle. The arrow is already knocked on the bowstring and has to be released. You sent me here but you didn't solve anything. Instead, you left a big mess behind and now you want me to go back and take refuge? Then pretend I didn't say anything. I've told you the method, you figure it out yourself. Old Lin yawned. I'm sleepy, I'm going back to sleep. Good night. With that, Old Lin hung up and ignored Lin Yi. Lin Yi was speechless, but he didn't have anything to complain about. Old Lin was telling the truth and no matter how much he asked, these were the only two methods he could think of. The first method was definitely impossible. Spring grass had a seasonal characteristic, and this type of herb had to be planted according to the seasons and climates. Even if it was planted in a greenhouse, the things that came out would be completely different. Moreover, even if he could plant it now, it would be too late. From the time the grass was planted to germinate and mature, it would take at least 2 months. Moreover, there was only about half a month left for the aristocratic family assembly. The second method seemed difficult, but it was the only way. Even if Linny knew it was difficult, he had to try it. But how was he going to test it? No matter what, Linny had to first increase his strength to the peak of the late phase of the Golden class, and then try to break through to the Earth class. After entering the Jade space, Linny quickly changed his strength to the peak of the late phase of the Golden class. Then Linny stopped and started to think of a solution. To break through 6 levels from the peak of the late phase of the Golden class to the Earth class was extremely difficult, and it required a large amount of pure Qi. Just as Old Lin said, if he could absorb all this pure Qi into his body, then he could instantly break through the Mystic class and become an Earth class. But how could he absorb all this pure Qi into his body at once? Cultivation had to be done step by step, and everything had to be done in an orderly manner. He couldn't break the rules, could he? From the peak of the late phase of the Golden class to the Earth class, how much energy is needed to level up in one go? And how do I absorb all this energy into my body? Linny frowned and muttered to himself. Chapter 1623. Don't you know how to compress Qi? Why don't you try sucking it in? Jiao Yazi, who hadn't spoken all this while, spoke up lazily to Lin Yi. 7 asterisk. That's right. Lin Yi came to a sudden realization he knew how to compress Qi. He could compress it outside his body and once it reached a certain amount he could absorb it all into his body. Wouldn't he be able to break through in one go? Thinking about this, Lin Yi really wanted to run over and kiss Jiao Lao. But he was afraid that the old thing would think that they were good friends. Lin Yi thought about it and decided not to. If he had the time he might as well start experimenting right now. Lin Yi estimated the amount of energy he would need to go from Golden class late phase peak to Mystic class late phase peak, and then started compressing the energy around his body. Although he didn't know if this method would work, Lin Yi had no other choice. He could only try it as a last resort. Compressing energy required time and control. At the beginning it was easier for Lin Yi to compress energy, but as time went on, it became harder and harder to control. Lin Yi realized that the maximum amount of energy he could compress each time was the total amount of energy in his body. In other words, the amount of energy Lin Yi could compress now was equal to the total amount of energy in Lin Yi's body. Once it exceeded this amount, it became a lot harder for Lin Yi to compress. Not only did it slow down, but he also felt that the energy outside his body was becoming extremely unstable, as if it would explode if he wasn't careful. Lin Yi could only slowly compress it as if he was walking on thin ice. It was like building blocks, the higher the pile the harder it was. If he wasn't careful it could all fall down. Finally Lin Yi felt that he couldn't control it anymore and quickly sucked the compressed Qi into his body. Lin Yi was afraid that the compressed energy would explode in an instant, so he chose to release it slowly, bit by bit. Although it was slow, it was only a little slower than normal release speed. Even if it was just a little slower, it wouldn't have caused such an explosion. It was like a balloon that might explode if you poked it with a needle. However, if you released the air plug, the balloon would not explode even though it would deflate quickly. Takitara, the reason why Lin Yi didn't dare to be too slow was because he was afraid that the poison of the 5-step powder would act up again after he broke through the mystic stage. Late phase of mystic class. This time, the compressed energy Lin Yi absorbed was only enough for him to recover to the late phase of mystic class. After that, the poison of the 5-step dispersed powder acted up once more, and the energy in Lin Yi's body leaked out once more, and Lin Yi became a normal person once more. However, Lin Yi was not disheartened. The facts proved that his method was still feasible. So Lin Yi didn't give up. After resting for a while, he once again raised his strength to the peak of the late phase of the golden class and started to compress his chi again. To be honest, it was really like playing a game. He held the compressed energy ball in his hand carefully, afraid that it would explode if he wasn't careful. As expected, very soon, Lin Yi accidentally made the energy ball explode. However, Lin Yi didn't give up because the energy ball he made this time was obviously bigger than the first one, and the energy inside was also more. Although it was only a small difference, it represented the first step of success. Lin Yi believed that with his perseverance and hard work, victory wasn't far away. This was a technical job. Lin Yi carefully started to compress the third energy ball. Hidden in the Tang family, after old Master Tang arranged the family affairs, he brought Tang Yuyu and Xiao Ming and prepared to head to the Ice Snow Spiritual Mountain. Everyone in the family felt that it was very strange. Ever since old Master Tang became a heaven-class expert, he had never left the house. He had always been cultivating in seclusion at home, and he rarely asked about the family's affairs. At this time he suddenly wanted to go out, and he even brought Tang Yuyu and Xiao Ming with him. If he only brought Tang Yuyu, it would still make sense. But bringing Xiao Ming, a daughter-in-law who had been thrown into the cold palace by the eldest daughter-in-law many years ago, was a little strange. Tang Yuyu's father, eldest Tang, wanted to say something but stopped. He wanted to ask his father what he was going to do this time, but he didn't dare to ask. Although old Master Tang was no longer the head of the family, he still had the final say in the matters of the hidden Tang family. Moreover, if he didn't agree, eldest Tang's position as the head of the family would be useless. And old Master Tang didn't say where he was going or what he was going to do, so everyone in the Tang family was even more puzzled. He didn't dare to ask grandfather Tang, but eldest brother Tang dared to ask his son. In private, eldest brother Tang found an opportunity to pull Tang Yuyu into his room and asked him in a low voice, "You, what are you going to do with grandfather Tang? Why is this so sudden? There weren't any signs at all?" "Father, don't make things difficult for me. How can I say anything about grandpa's decision? Moreover, I don't know much. You know grandpa's temper. If I say anything, won't I make grandpa angry?" Tang Yuyu smiled bitterly as he explained. Eldest Tang sighed. He knew what old Master Tang was thinking. Once he made a decision, it was a decision. It was useless for others to say anything. Moreover, this child Yuyu didn't know much. At most, he was just a foil. But old Master Tang also called Xiao Ming along. That was a little strange. Xiao Ming was his concubine. Logically speaking, old Master Tang was her father-in-law. Wasn't it a little inappropriate for him to bring her along? After thinking about it, Tang Yuyu could only find Xiao Ming to ask. Thus he sighed and said to Yuyu, "Forget it, Yuyu. Go do what you need to do. It's fine now." After Tang Yuyu left, eldest Tang quickly walked to the courtyard where Xiao Ming was. He hadn't stepped into this courtyard for more than 10 years. He was a timid man. Back then, after his wife flew into a rage, eldest Tang didn't dare to meet with Xiao Ming in private anymore. It was as if he had forgotten about this concubine. If it wasn't for the fact that he had something to do today, he wouldn't have come here. "Patriarch, please stop." Eldest Tang was walking with a heavy heart. Suddenly a voice rang out. Then, a black shadow floated over and blocked in front of eldest Tang. Eldest Tang was about to get angry when he was blocked. But when he saw the person in front of him, his expression froze. He quickly put on a smile and said, "Isn't this Uncle Da? Uncle Dabai, why are you here?" "I came to see Xiao Ming." Target equals under blank. Chapter 1624. Master, please go back. No one is allowed to enter or leave this courtyard for now. Uncle Dabo said plainly. Uncle, Xiao Ming is my concubine. Isn't it natural for me to visit her? Why are you? Eldest brother Tang's expression didn't look too good. Although Dabo was one of Elder Tang's people, wasn't he being too lenient? He was here to visit his concubine, why couldn't he? This is the old master's order. I'm sorry. Dabo said expressionlessly. Master, don't make things difficult for me. Ah. Tang Lauda stared blankly for a moment. When he heard that it was his father's idea, he sighed. It seemed that his wish to obtain information from Xiaoming had failed. If he tried to force his way in, not only would he not be able to defeat Uncle Da, if his father found out about it, his position as the family head would be in jeopardy. Thinking up to this point, eldest brother Tang could only leave helplessly. Elder Tang's reason for leaving was very strange. It was going to be his 80th birthday soon. Before the birthday he wanted to go out and have a look. And he brought Tang Yuyu because he was the eldest grandson, so he wanted to bring him along to gain some experience. This reason made sense. Elder Tang's thoughts were wild and imaginative, so no one doubted it. But for Xiaoming, Elder Tang's reason was that Xiaoming had been cooped up at home for so many years. After all, she was the daughter-in-law of the Tang family. It wasn't good to treat her like this, so he brought her out to relax. If it wasn't for the fact that Elder Tang had given up on alcohol and women long ago, everyone in the family would have thought that Elder Tang was interested in Xiaoming. But the hidden Tang family was rich and powerful. What kind of beautiful woman couldn't they find? If Elder Tang wanted to, he could find a whole bunch of them. It was impossible for him to have any ideas about Xiaoming. And this way the combination of these three people was even more unfathomable. But even though they were unfathomable, the hidden Tang family still had to operate. Elder Tang brought Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming away, while eldest brother Tang continued to be the head of the family. Also, he didn't dare to send anyone to follow Elder Tang to see what he was doing. After all, Grandfather Tang was a heaven-rank expert. His perception was extremely strong. If eldest brother Tang did something behind his back and Grandfather Tang found out, he would have to bear the consequences. Once old Master Tang left the house, he brought Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming straight to the Icy Snow Spiritual Mountain. When they reached the Icy Snow Spiritual Town, they arrived at the inn opened by Manager Li of the Ice Palace. "Hello, we're checking in," Tang Yuyu politely said to Manager Li, who was sitting there with his eyes closed and almost asleep. 7 * stay in the inn? Manager Li was taken aback. He raised his head and looked at Tang Yuyu. His expression changed immediately. His memory was quite good and he had an impression of Tang Yuyu. This person was one of the Ice Palace's trial takers, but he couldn't remember exactly which sect he was from. "It's you? Why are you back?" "Hello, Manager Li. This is my grandfather, the head of the hidden Tang family. This time, I'm actually here to see the Ice Palace's palace master. I hope that Elder Li can help me report this." Tang Yuyu knew his position in the eyes of the Ice Palace, so he didn't beat around the bush and told Manager Li his request. Although it was a bit direct, he believed that if he beat around the bush, it would annoy Manager Li even more. "Oh? Seeking an audience with the Ice Palace's palace master?" Manager Li couldn't help but find Tang Yuyu's words funny. A small hidden family's head was actually seeking an audience with an ancient sect's palace master? Wasn't he overestimating himself? However, Shopkeeper Li still held back his laughter and said, "If you have something to say, I can help you pass on the message, but when it comes to requesting an audience with the palace lord, let alone you, even I would find it difficult to request an audience." That's fine. I'll write a letter and ask Manager Li to pass it on. Is that all right?" Tang Yuyu didn't insist. After all, he was right. How could someone from the hidden Tang family meet the Ice Palace master just like that? "That's fine." Manager Li was in charge of the Ice Palace's communications. He was in charge of the Ice Palace's communications with other sects and families. So Tang Yuyu's request wasn't too much, so he agreed. "Then I'll have to trouble you, Manager Li. First, get us 2 rooms. We'll stay here and wait for the palace master's reply," Tang Yuyu said. "Staying here is no problem, but I can't guarantee that the palace master won't reply," Manager Li said. "Give me your ID and a deposit and I'll get you a room." Elder Tang, Tang Yuyu, and Xiaoming quickly took out their IDs and deposits. After paying, they received their room cards and returned to their rooms. As for the letter to the Ice Palace master, it was rather simple. Tang Yuyu and Old Man Tang discussed it for a bit and decided to simply write down their speculations about her past and invite her to meet them. The letter was written very politely. Even if they weren't relatives, the Ice Palace master wouldn't blame them for a hidden Tang family. After writing the letter, Tang Yuyu sealed it and handed it to Manager Li for him to pass it to the palace master. The 3 of them waited in the inn for news. At the peak of the snow mountain, within the sect master's room, Qing's expression was solemn as she held a letter and ran to the sect master. "Sect master, please take a look at this letter." The Ice Palace master's letters were usually screened by little Qing first. Those that could be dealt with would be dealt with, and those that couldn't be dealt with would be handed over to Bingtang. And this letter was obviously one of the most important ones. Bingtang was startled. She rarely saw little Qing in such a hurry. Aunt Qing, where did this letter come from? Why are you in such a rush? Palace Master, you should take a look for yourself. Little Qing smiled bitterly and said with a strange expression. Oh, okay. Rock Candy saw that little Qing's expression was a little unnatural, so she nodded and took the letter. She read it, but halfway through Rock Candy's face changed. Her hands holding the letter were also trembling slightly. After all, she was an expert at the peak of the late phase of the heaven rank. She rarely showed her emotions, but this time she lost her composure. Do I look like me? Aunt Qing, is that possible? This? Palace Master, this? Xiao Qing muttered to herself for a moment and decided to speak the truth. Palace Master, do you really care about your past? Little Qing's words couldn't help but make Bing Tang silent. Chapter 1625. She grew up in the Ice Palace and had never seen her biological parents. Here, Aunt Qing and her were like her family, taking care of her. To be honest, Bing Tang thought that this was enough. Even if she didn't have parents, it didn't matter. She thought that she would be relieved. However, after reading this letter, Bing Tang realized that she still couldn't let it go in her heart. He wanted to know. He wanted to know who his parents were. He wanted to know why his parents abandoned him. Why did they do that? They gave birth to her but didn't raise her? And this letter was written by the Hidden Tang family. This made Rock Candy even more confused and angry. Hidden Tang family wasn't as powerful as the Ice Palace, but in the mortal world, they were still a huge existence. They were many times more powerful than the noble families. How could such a noble family abandon their child? Did they do it on purpose or by accident? And after finding out that she was the sect master of the Ice Palace, they wanted to recognize her? What did they do before? However, despite her anger, Bing Tang was still trying to excuse her parents. Perhaps they really did accidentally lose her back then, or perhaps it wasn't that they didn't stop looking for her, but that they had been looking for her all these years. However, she was in the Ice Palace. How could they find her? They couldn't find her at all. These reasons calmed the grief and indignation in Bing Tang's heart a little. She was a person who didn't show her emotions and usually looked cold. After taking a deep breath, she put the letter on the table beside her and said lightly, Aunt Qing, you raised me up and taught me martial arts. You are the closest person to me. But my birth parents, no matter for what reason they abandoned me, they are still my parents after all. It is impossible for me to say that I don't care. But I just want to figure out what happened in the past and figure out my life experience. Aunt Qing, you never mentioned the situation when you and the old lady picked me up. Now, can you tell me about it? Qing sighed. It's not that I didn't want to tell you before, but I was afraid that it would affect your mood. You were still young then and your mind wasn't stable. But now you are a heaven-class late-phase peak master. You don't have to care about this anymore. But since you didn't ask, I didn't bring up the sad past. Now that it happened, I will tell you about what happened back then. Yes, Aunt Qing, please speak. Rock Candy gestured for him to speak. Her mood had returned to calmness. Her expression was very indifferent, and no one could tell whether she was happy or sad. Back then, I wasn't a sky class yet, but I was so close to breaking through from late phase peak to sky class. The old sect master saw this and took me out on a journey so that I could break through. Qing said, you know that in many situations getting to Earth class depends on hard work and after that depends on luck. Sky class isn't that easy to get into, and our Ice Palace wasn't as strong as it is now. Having another sky class was a good thing. Therefore, the old palace master brought me to travel the secular world, and the place we traveled to was where the hidden Tang family was. What? It's really hidden in the Tang family? Rock Candy's expression changed slightly. Originally, she had some doubts about the credibility of this letter. However, after hearing Little Qing's words, her heart immediately tightened. Could it be that what was written in this letter was true? It was where the hidden Tang family was. It was a snowy night, and the old palace master and I were preparing to go outside to comprehend, to see if there was an opportunity to break through. Qing said. Rock Candy nodded. Their ice palace's heart arts were mainly based on ice. The colder the area and weather, the more beneficial it was for them. And when I, the old palace master came to an empty field to prepare, I suddenly heard waves of baby crying. Little Qing said, out of curiosity you and I followed the sound. In the end we found a swaddle in the snow. That baby was me? Rock Candy had already guessed that the baby in the snow was her without a doubt. Yes, at that time the palace master's face was already red from the cold, but you still didn't die. This made the old palace master and I very confused. Little Qing said, when we arrived at the outskirts there was no one nearby. With your perception as a heaven rank expert, You should be able to sense the surroundings from far away. In other words, the person who abandoned you must have walked for at least half an hour. And in this half an hour you, a newborn baby, actually didn't freeze to death in this snowy wilderness. It's really amazing. Rock Candy's face slightly darkened. Wilderness? If it was in a bustling market, it could still explain that she was accidentally lost. But in the wilderness and in the middle of the night, it was obviously abandoned. That place was desolate and uninhabited? Rock Candy asked. Yes, or else you and I wouldn't be there. Qing said, we knew that the hidden Tang family was in that town, so we deliberately distanced ourselves from their place. The goal was to not be sensed by them. You have to know that when we move, we will use the surrounding spiritual energy. If we are close, we will be sensed by others. Aunt Qing continue. Rock Candy didn't say anything else and just signaled Qing to continue. Originally, the old palace master's intention was to bring you back to the ice palace, find someone to raise you and keep you in the ice palace. Qing continued, but you didn't freeze to death after so long. The old palace master was curious, so he subconsciously checked your body to see if there were any frostbite. In the end, he found out that you actually have a fake ice heart jade bone physique. This is a special constitution that is second only to the icy heart jade bone constitution. It's perfect for our ice palace's mental cultivation method. That's why the elder palace master was so excited back then. He didn't expect to have such an opportunity. You should know that the icy heart jade bone constitution is a constitution that only appears once in 100 years. Even the elder palace master himself doesn't have it. At that time it was all thanks to Aunt Qing. Otherwise, even if I had a fake ice heart and jade bone physique, I would have frozen to death. When Bing Tang said this, there was not much expression on her face. However, little Qing could hear the anger in her words. She could not help but smile bitterly. This hidden Tang family was really lost and now they were looking for it again. After that, the old palace master and I carried you back to the hotel. In the end, we found a Tang character on your swaddling clothes, so we guessed that your real surname might be Tang. Little Qing continued. Chapter 1626. What? Is really Tang, then the hidden Tang family and me? Rock Candy's breathing quickened. Palace Master, the surname Tang is a common surname. In the entire town, many families have this surname. It might not be the hidden Tang family, so we didn't think it was the hidden Tang family at all. Little Qing waved her hand and explained, at that time we saw the word Tang, so the Palace Master gave you the name Rock Candy. Because the Palace Master saw your physique, she wanted to take you in as her last disciple and take over the Ice Palace. So, she gave you the surname of the Ice Palace. I see. Rock Candy nodded and said self-deprecatingly, if that's the case, then let's go and meet this elder Tang who might be my grandfather. Little Qing nodded her head silently. She understood Rock Candy's thoughts. Especially after hearing about what happened that year, Rock Candy found it hard to calm down. Rock Candy and Little Qing's appearance gave Grandfather Tang and Tang Yuyu a fright. It could only be described as appearing without a sound, standing quietly in front of them. Even Grandfather Tang, a heaven-rank initial stage expert, could not sense the slightest bit of his aura. Rock Candy was a heaven-rank late-phase expert, so naturally she was powerful. But Little Qing was a heaven-rank middle-stage expert, yet Grandfather Tang couldn't sense it. This made Grandfather Tang understand that he, a heaven-rank early-stage expert, had only just entered the door. He was still far from the other party. When Grandfather Tang saw Rock Candy in person, he was visibly moved. Although the person in front of him didn't look exactly like Little Ming, they looked very similar. His heart was filled with excitement. If the Palace Master of the Ice Palace was really from the Hidden Tang family, then wouldn't the Hidden Tang family become the Ancient Tang family? This Tang greets the Palace Master of the Ice Palace. Although Grandfather Tang was excited, he maintained his composure as he cupped his fists and bowed. Although he might be Rock Candy's grandfather, he was not yet, right? Tang, is that you? Xiaoming looked at Rock Candy in a daze. This young woman in front of her gave her an inexplicable sense of closeness. She was 70 to 80% similar to when she was young. You are. Rock Candy's heart was in turmoil. When she saw the woman in front of her, she also felt a sense of familiarity. However, because of the resentment in her heart for what happened in the past, her attitude was very cold. You're Tang? You must be Tang. Xiaoming didn't care if the other party was an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. She directly ran over and hugged Tang. Old Man Tang and Tang Yuyu broke out in cold sweat. If this kind of rude behavior made the other party angry, they would have to bear the consequences. Rock Candy frowned but didn't push Xiaoming away in the end. At this moment, the resentment in her heart was suppressed by Bing Tang. Regardless of what Elder Tang was thinking, the woman in front of him was definitely showing her true feelings. Rock Candy was a heaven stage expert. How sharp was her divine sense? This Xiaoming was only an ordinary person. If she had the slightest bit of pretense, it naturally wouldn't escape Bing Tang's eyes. Xiaoming's feelings for Bing Tang came from the bottom of her heart. How could such a person be the heartless parents who abandoned her in the past? Bing Tang wasn't stupid. There might be some hidden story behind this. She looked at the respectful old Master Tang, then looked at the agitated Xiaoming. Comparing the expressions of the two of them, Rock Candy was very clear. My name is Bing Tang. Auntie, can you let go of me first? Bing Tang hesitated for a while and called Xiaoming Auntie. Before confirming, Bing Tang wouldn't call her anything. Although, in her heart, Bing Tang was pretty sure that Xiaoming was related to her. If not, how could there be such similar people in this world? At first glance, the two of them looked very similar. Although looking at them carefully, there were still many differences. However, they looked exactly the same. They were twins, not mother and daughter. Okay. Xiaoming suddenly remembered that the other party's identity was the leader of an ancient sect. That was a much higher existence than the hidden Tang family. Seeing that the usually arrogant Elder Tang was so respectful, Xiaoming instantly rubbed her hands awkwardly and didn't know what to do. Elder Tang, I want to clarify something. Back then, how did you lose your child? Bing Tang didn't blame Xiaoming for being rude. Instead, she directly looked at Elder Tang and asked. Palace Master, back then, a servant brought Tang Tang out to play. In the end, the servant was in urgent need of the toilet and wanted to find a place to relieve himself. So, he placed Tang Tang on the snowy ground and went to relieve himself. Because he took a long time to relieve himself, when he returned, he discovered that Tang Tang was already gone. Elder Tang had already thought of an excuse. This was also what he and Tang Yuyu had previously said. Although Xiaoming knew that this was a lie, she didn't have any right to say anything. Now that she could reunite with her daughter, she was already satisfied. So, Xiaoming pursed her lips and lowered her head, afraid that her expression would reveal something. However, Bing Tang had been paying attention to Xiaoming's expression. The more Xiaoming acted like this, the more suspicious Bing Tang became. After hearing Elder Tang's explanation, she calmly said, Oh, that means that servant accidentally lost the baby? Where did that servant go? Why isn't he here? That servant has already been executed. She made such a big mistake, how could I let her live? Grandfather Tang pretended to be angry. She lost my granddaughter, how could she expect to live? Oh, then what's her strength? Rock Candy continued to ask. Grandfather Tang was stunned. He did not know why Bing Tang would suddenly ask about this servant's strength. For a moment he was unable to react. However, he was a cautious person and couldn't help but vaguely say, It was too long ago, I don't remember it clearly. Nonsense. Bing Tang snorted coldly, I'm an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. Can't she sense if there's anyone within a 1-kilometer radius? Urinate? It's really rare for your family servants to relieve themselves, huh? Ran a kilometer away? Cold sweat broke out on Grandfather Tang's forehead. He never thought that the person who picked up the rock candy was her. Furthermore, she was an expert at the peak of heaven stage late phase. At this moment, Grandfather Tang finally understood why Bing Tang had asked him about the servant's strength. Chapter 1627. Only someone who was also a heaven ranker could hide from the divine sense of a heaven ranker and not be discovered by a heaven ranker. If one were to say that the servant was not discovered because he was a heaven ranker, that would be pure bullshit. Let alone a hidden aristocratic family, even if it was an ancient sect or an ancient family, if a heaven-ranked expert did not commit an unforgivable crime, they would not be executed so easily. Not to mention the fact that he lost a baby and it wasn't intentional. Even if it was intentional, they couldn't just execute him. Unless the family had a lot of heaven rankers, but the hidden Tang family was obviously not like that. I want to hear the truth. Bing Tang said plainly, Does old Master Tang think that I am easy to bully because I am young? After saying that, the aura of a peak late-stage heaven rank was completely unleashed. Old Master Tang, who was standing there, couldn't help but shiver and almost fell to the ground. As for Tang Yuyu, he was so scared that he didn't dare to raise his head. On the contrary, Xiaoming, who was an ordinary person, looked at Rock Candy with deep love in her eyes. How would this Tang dare? Old Master Tang smiled bitterly. It was true that Bing Tang was his granddaughter, but she was also the palace master of the Ice Palace. What kind of existence was that? Even the old ancestor of the Everyday and Everyday Day sect had to respect her. He was just a heaven ranker. In her eyes he was really nothing. Since you don't want to speak, please go back. Let bygones be bygones, I don't want to hear it anymore. Bing Tang said plainly and turned to leave. Tang Tang. Don't go. Xiaoming saw that Bing Tang was about to leave and subconsciously rushed over, wanting to pull her back. But when she thought of the fact that she was a heaven-ranked expert, she instinctively let go of Bing Tang's arm. She was a little timid and careful. Sorry. Palace Master Bing, looking at the girl in front of her, who was very likely to be her mother, Bing Tang sighed. For now, she didn't care what that old fox old Master Tang was thinking. This Xiaoming should be caring for her. Thinking of this, Bing Tang stopped in her tracks. What exactly happened that year? Sigh. It's all fate. Old Master Tang sighed dejectedly. Forget it. Our family's misfortune. This old man will take the blame. Xiaoming, you should say it. Back then, Elder Tang had also given his approval. Without his approval, how could the servants of the Tang family lose a granddaughter? My father. Xiaoming didn't know what to say and didn't dare to say anything casually. Back then, old Master Tang had reminded her repeatedly not to speak carelessly, so Xiaoming didn't know what to say now. Just tell the truth. If we lie, someone as powerful as Palace Master Bing Tang will be able to tell with a single glance. Grandfather Tang subtly flattered Rock Candy. However, Rock Candy's expression was very indifferent as she said, "Let's talk in another room." After speaking, he turned and walked towards the door. Boss Li, who was behind him, also cleverly prepared a room for Bing Tang. Xiaoming hesitated for a moment, then followed. Old Man Tang and Tang Yuyu didn't follow either. The Ice Palace Master clearly didn't want them to participate, so they didn't want to be hated. As for eavesdropping, although Old Man Tang was a Heaven Realm expert, he didn't dare to do so. Rock Candy and Little Qing were both Heaven Realm experts, and they were much stronger than him. If he eavesdropped like this, he would definitely be discovered. If he angered Rock Candy, it wouldn't be worth it. Boss Li didn't enter the room. After letting Rock Candy, Little Qing and Xiaoming enter, he closed the door and guarded it like a door god. Being alone with Rock Candy, Xiaoming was a little nervous and a little excited. The person in front of her was most likely her daughter, but Xiaoming didn't dare to rashly acknowledge her, nor did she dare to say anything. She just stood there cautiously, not knowing what to do. "Auntie, please take a seat." Rock Candy's tone was much gentler than before. Just now, she was the high and mighty Palace Master of Ice Palace, but now she was a little girl without any airs. Okay. Xiaoming hurriedly nodded and sat down obediently. "Auntie, you don't have to be so reserved. I can tell that you are very worried about your daughter, right?" Rock Candy looked at Xiaoming and couldn't help but sigh. "In these 19 years, there wasn't a day that I didn't miss my daughter." Hearing Rock Candy's question, Xiaoming's tears instantly flowed down. She felt a little sad and miserable. "That is my child, my flesh and blood. But she left me a few days after she was born. I miss her every day. I want her to return to my arms and call me Mummy." Xiaoming's chatterbox started to open up. She told Rock Candy all her yearning for her daughter all these years, but in the end it was all about yearning and longing. There wasn't any main point. But Rock Candy didn't disturb her. She listened quietly, listening to this mother's yearning for her daughter. To be honest, Rock Candy didn't really care about Old Man Tang. So what if he was her grandfather? Back then he abandoned her. That was equivalent to cutting off all ties. But she couldn't not care about Xiaoming. From how Xiaoming carefully asked about Old Man Tang's situation just now, she could tell that Xiaoming's position in the Tang family wasn't high. She definitely wasn't the young mistress. The identity of her mother that was written in the letter was definitely nonsense. From the looks of it now, she was at most a concubine. Then, how did you end up separating from her? After Xiaoming finished speaking, Rock Candy sighed and asked. To be honest, at that moment, Rock Candy even wanted to pounce on Xiaoming and call her Mummy. But she resisted the urge and didn't do that. Firstly, the matter wasn't confirmed yet. Secondly, she still hadn't thought of how to deal with her relationship with the hidden Tang family. That year, Xiaoming's chatterbox started to open up. My sister married a child from a branch of the hidden Tang family. Although he was also part of the Tang family, he wasn't a direct relative of Old Man Tang. He was a collateral relative and could only be considered as a member of the same family. But when he married and had children, he had to go to the hidden Tang family to register. It was at that time that I accompanied my sister and brother-in-law to go to the Tang family to register. Then, the young master of the Tang family, who is also Tang's father, took a fancy to me. Under the influence of alcohol, we I couldn't resist even if I wanted to. Speaking up to this point, Xiaoming sighed slightly. She didn't have any background and was just a girl from an ordinary family. When faced with such a situation, how could she be a match for Boss Tang? Target equals undercommit. Chapter 1628. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Rock Candy snorted. She didn't expect the Hidden Tang family's big young master to be such a bad person. Then I was left in the Hidden Tang family and became Big Young Master's concubine. Not long after, I got pregnant. Xiaoming sighed. But Big Young Mistress saw me as a thorn in her side. She was also from a hidden family, so she didn't like me and wanted to teach me a lesson. I almost had a miscarriage a few times. Xiaoming recounted the situation back then, until the eldest young mistress sent people to snatch the child away. Rock Candy was infuriated and slammed her palm on the jade table in the room of the inn. However, the jade table turned into a pile of powder. Big Young Mistress? Is she very powerful? Rock Candy's voice was very cold. If that Big Young Mistress was in front of her, Rock Candy would have slapped her to death. No matter how powerful the hidden family behind her was, they wouldn't dare to fart in front of Rock Candy. They would even clap their hands and say, "Good hit." Sai, you can't blame her for this. It's normal for her to be jealous. Xiaoming shook her head. Normal. Then that Big Young Master is too useless? Rock Candy said plainly. He can't even control his own woman, so how can he be the head of the family? He might as well die. Xiaoming felt a little awkward. Although the two of them weren't very happy when they first got together, after so many years and they even had a child, Xiaoming still had some feelings for Boss Tang. She also knew of his difficulties, so she didn't hate anyone. She was that kind of person. Let's find a hospital and do a paternity test. Although we look similar, nothing is too strange in this world. Rock Candy calmed her emotions and said plainly, "If you are really my mother, then you can stay in the Ice Palace. I don't want to go back to that family and I can't go back either." Xiaoming was stunned. She knew what old Master Tang meant. He wanted Rock Candy to return to the family. That way the Hidden Tang family's power would increase more than double. But now, Rock Candy didn't seem to have any intention of returning to the Tang family. We'll talk about other things when the time comes. Rock Candy could tell that Xiaoming was in a difficult position and sighed in her heart at how kind she was. However, everything would have to wait until the results of the paternity test was out. Now that science was so advanced, it was very easy to do a paternity test. Although Bing Tang was in an ancient sect, she was not the kind of person who did not pay attention to the outside world. She still knew about the technology outside. Okay. Xiaoming hurriedly nodded. After leaving the room and returning to Old Master Tang's previous room, Old Master Tang saw that Bing Tang's expression wasn't very good and wanted to ask how Xiaoming was doing. However, he hesitated, not knowing what to say, afraid that he would anger Bing Tang. Go to the hospital for a paternity test. Bing Tang said faintly. Good. I'll go now. Grandfather Tang was overjoyed. By saying this, did Rock Candy want to acknowledge the Tang family's identity? At the thought of this, Elder Tang was overjoyed. Bing Tang didn't care about Elder Tang's expression and directly walked out of the room, leaving behind a few words. Wait for me here tomorrow morning. With that, Rock Candy left the inn with Little Qing and returned to the Ice Snow Spiritual Mountain. Only Old Master Tang, who was so happy that his mouth was twitching, and Xiaoming, who was a little reluctant to leave, were left behind. As for Tang Yuyu, he felt that things weren't that simple. Who was this Palace Master Bing? She was the head of an ancient sect. How could she go back to the Tang family to acknowledge her ancestors? If it was really an accident that year, it would still be fine. However, what happened that year wasn't an accident. My dear mother, you're really a scammer. Tang Yuyu scolded in his heart. Not only did she scam her own father, she also scammed the entire Hidden Tang family. Such an amazing person was thrown away just like that? This night was destined to be a sleepless night. Xiaoming was so excited that she couldn't sleep. Her heart was filled with sweetness. Old Master Tang and Tang Yuyu thought about the future of the Tang family, both worried and happy. Bing Tang didn't know how to face this Hidden Tang family. Boss Tang, that father of hers? Kill him? Her mother, Xiaoming, definitely wouldn't agree. She had no choice but to use that eldest young mistress as an example. As for the hidden family behind eldest young mistress, Bing Tang didn't even care about them. Palace Master rest early? Little Qing saw Bing Tang's worries and couldn't help but advise. And okay, Aunt Qing. Although Bing Tang said that, she didn't feel sleepy at all. The next morning, Bing Tang brought Little Qing to the inn as promised. Old Master Tang, Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming were already dressed and waiting in the lobby of the inn. When they saw Bing Tang and Little Qing, they immediately went over to welcome them respectfully. Bing Tang and Little Qing didn't wear their usual silk clothes today. Instead they changed into normal clothes. The current Bing Tang looked like a normal young girl, bright and beautiful, just like a university student. However, Bing Tang's face was still as cold as ever. There wasn't a trace of a smile on her face. The few of them didn't say much. Since Bing Tang didn't say anything, Old Master Tang and the others naturally didn't dare to say anything. They directly got into the car and headed to the nearest hospital to do a paternity test. The two cars directly drove to the nearest hospital. After registering, Bing Tang and Xiaoming entered the laboratory together to do mitochondrial sequencing and autosomal STR typing. Because there weren't many people doing this, the results were out very quickly. Bing Tang was expressionless, while Xiaoming was excited and nervous. As for Old Master Tang and Tang Yuyu, their hearts were filled with bitterness. Bing Tang knew that her initial plan had failed. Whether hiding the Tang family was a blessing or a curse, she still wasn't sure. The results were finally out. However, the results were a little strange. The DNA similarity between the two of them is around 25%. In theory, the DNA similarity between mother and daughter should be above 50%. However, we can't rule out exceptions, the doctor said. The doctor said, although this similarity may also appear between two strangers and ordinary people, the possibility is very small. This kind of similarity mostly appears in maternal family members, so the possibility of the two examiners being mother and daughter cannot be ruled out. Ah? Old Master Tang was stunned by the doctor's words. Possible? How could it only be possible? How could such a situation happen? He couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. How did your hospital do the test? How could there be a possibility? What we can confirm now is that the examiner should be a member of the maternal family. The father didn't come. If the father came, we could do a DNA test and we would be able to confirm it, the doctor explained. If the father didn't come, can grandfather do it? Old Master Tang was a little regretful that he didn't bring eldest brother Tang along. Grandfather can do it too. We can do a Y chromosome STR typing. If the Y chromosome comparison results are out and the examiner is also a member of the paternal family, we can confirm the child's identity, the doctor said. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1629. On the other hand, he admired third concubine's character very much. Thus, he had played with third concubine since he was young. His relationship with third concubine was even deeper than that of his biological mother. So, without waiting for Elder Tang to express his opinion, Tang Yuyu spoke first. No matter what, no matter how bad that woman is, she is still my mother. Elder Qing, do you think it's possible for her to switch places with third aunt? I have been close to third auntie since I was young and I will treat her like my own mother. Third auntie can prove this. Although Tang Yuyu's words were clear, he was also telling Little Qing that his mother and Xiaoming's places had been swapped. Since their places had changed, their identities had naturally changed too. However, he didn't kill them all. Holy Church, I can prove this. I brought Yuyu up to play with since he was young. He has always loved and respected me. Xiaoming quickly added. Sure. Little Qing nodded. Then it's decided. When Elder Tang arrives, get Xiao Li, who is also Manager Li, to contact me. This? Elder Qing, it will be this Tang's 80th birthday soon. Everyone in the Tang family will be attending, including my cousin's branch family. So, do you think the Palace Lord can also attend as a member of the Tang family? Elder Tang asked carefully. How about this? It won't be too late to do a DNA test when we get there. I can't make this decision. I will ask the Palace Master first before giving you an answer. Little Qing didn't say anything, she just took note of it. Okay. Grandfather Tang happily nodded his head. Elder Qing, thank you for your trouble. Little Qing waved her hands and didn't reply. She turned around and left Elder Tang's room. Then she floated away. After hearing Little Qing's words, Rock Tang hesitated for a moment before agreeing to Elder Tang's request. Firstly, she wanted to see the place where she was born. Secondly, she wanted to take this opportunity to go out for a walk. In the past 20 years, Rock Tang had spent her entire life in the Ice Palace. She had never left the Ice Palace. News from the outside was passed on by the outer disciples. She had never seen it herself. So, Elder Tang's suggestion moved her heart. It wasn't because she wanted to give Elder Tang face, but because she wanted to experience the world for herself. Alright, I'll go. Bing Tang nodded. Go and reply to him. Since it's the 80th birthday, the clansmen can attend. If he wants to use this opportunity to show off his strength and invite people from other clans, I won't show up. How could Rock Candy not know what Grandfather Tang was thinking? It was better for him to keep a low profile for the birthday banquet. The Ice Palace wanted the Hidden Tang family to work for them, so he had to control it well. He couldn't let the Hidden Tang family get too full of themselves and use the Ice Palace's name to do some bad things. I understand, Palace Master. Little Ching nodded. I'll go check on Lil Shimmy. Let's bring her along this time. She's new here and she's not used to it. I'm afraid she'll get sick, Crystal Candy said. It was obvious that she cared a lot about Xiao Xiao. Yeah, alright. I'll go talk to the Hidden Tang family right now. Ching nodded and went back. Crystal Candy, on the other hand, flew towards the peak of the mountain with the most energy. Xiao Xiao hadn't slacked off at all since entering the Ice Palace. Other than eating and sleeping, she'd been training here every day. She was one of the most hard-working disciples in the Ice Palace, but everyone understood the heavy responsibility on her shoulders. She was an inheritor, a very important role. She had to exist to open up Sky Class Island. Senior sister? Xiao Xiao stopped her training and raised her head to see Crystal Candy not far from her. She paused. Why are you here? With Xiao Xiao's current strength, naturally she wouldn't be able to sense Crystal Candy's arrival. Xiao Xiao, are you used to the Ice Palace? Crystal Candy sat beside Xiao Xiao, not putting on any airs like a palace master should. It's all right. Xiao Xiao wasn't too happy that she couldn't see Lin Yi anymore, but thinking that this short separation was for them to be together in the future, she got over it. I'm going out in a few days. Do you want to come with me? Crystal Candy asked. Going out? To where? Can I go see Lin Yi, honey? Xiao Xiao asked excitedly. Crystal Candy couldn't help but smile bitterly. This Xiao Xiao was acting like she didn't care before, but now she was excited after hearing that she could go out. Crystal Candy didn't want her to go see Lin Yi. To be honest, Crystal Candy really didn't think much of Lin Yi's strength. He was known as the strongest under Earth class, but she wouldn't even look at him if he was the strongest under Sky class. Xiao Xiao would become an inheritor in the future, and she would have the chance to step into Sky Dao and reach that legendary level. At that time, Lin Yi's strength would be laughably weak in her eyes. Would she still be so attached to Lin Yi? But, according to Crystal Candy's observations, she would. The relationship between these two couldn't be measured by strength. Back then, Lin Yi was a mystic, but he joined the test for Xiao Xiao, who had no strength at all. He even offended people stronger than him. This proved this point. The two places are quite far away. I don't know if it's okay. If you have time, we can meet. Crystal Candy didn't reject her junior sister's request. She was strict with others in the Ice Palace, but she couldn't be strict with this weird junior sister. Whether you were strict or not, the way she talked to you didn't change at all. Even when Rock Candy was with her, she unconsciously became a little neurotic. Sure. Xiao Xiao was happy. I'm a golden class now. If Lin Yi honey sees this, he'll be so happy. Xiao Xiao's training speed wasn't slow at all. In less than a month, she was already a golden class. Only a special constitution and a special practitioner's arts could have this kind of effect in the heritage grounds. Crystal Candy was speechless. The next day, Crystal Candy, Xiao Xiao, and Qing set off on their journey. With them was Elder Tang, Tang Yuyu, and Qing of the Hidden House. At the same time, the Hidden Tang family had finally received confirmation from Grandfather Tang and found out the purpose of his visit. Before, Elder Tang hadn't confirmed Crystal Candy's background, so naturally he wouldn't say anything. If Tang Yuyu really got the wrong person, then things would get out of hand. Not only would Hidden House Tang be treated as a joke, but the Ice Palace might even blame them. Chapter 1630. But now, Rock Candy's identity was basically set in stone. He would naturally explain it to his family. Hidden in the Tang family, Boss Tang looked at his legal wife, Yu Xiaoxin, with a dark expression on his face. He slapped her face and trembled in anger. You wastrel, you threw away Xiaoming's child back then. Look at you now, she's the Ice Palace's palace master. When she comes back, you can wait for your death. Not to mention you, even your Hidden Yu family will be finished. Yu Xiaoxin covered her swollen face and didn't dare to say anything. Although she was arrogant, it was only because she had the backing of the Hidden Yu family. But now, in the eyes of the Ice Palace, the Hidden Yu family wasn't like an ant. It was like the difference between a tiger and a cat. So Yu Xiaoxin didn't dare to say anything. She really regretted it. She should have drowned the child instead of throwing him away. She didn't expect that the child didn't die and actually became the palace master of the Ice Palace. It could be said that she didn't regret it even now. This woman was hopeless. You've caused my death. By then you can beg for mercy on your knees. Don't drag me down with you. This was the first time that Boss Tang was so unyielding in front of his legal wife. Now he was going to be in big trouble. If Rock Candy came back, old Master Tang would be fine and Xiaoming would be fine too. The ones who would be in trouble would be him and Yu Xiaoxin. Yu Xiaoxin lowered her head and didn't speak. She was also very afraid, but it was useless to be afraid. At this time she could only think of a way to escape. I'll move into Xiaoming's room today and give this place to her, okay? I hope it won't affect our hidden Yu family, Yu Xiaoxin said carefully. Then get lost. Boss Tang roared angrily. Of course, in the entire hidden Tang family, other than Boss Tang's branch, the remaining brothers were very happy. They didn't participate in the incident back then. So, if Boss Tang fell this time, they would have a chance to take over. However, unexpectedly, after Rock Candy arrived at the hidden Tang family, she didn't start a massacre. As for Yu Xiaoxin, who had already moved into Xiaoming's cold courtyard, Rock Candy didn't bother about her either, as if she had ignored this person. This made Boss Tang heave a sigh of relief. Since Rock Candy could spare Yu Xiaoxin, then she could certainly spare Boss Tang. Tang, how is it? Are you used to this room? That night, eldest brother Tang, accompanied by grandfather Tang, went to Rock Candy's room to ask about her well-being. Rock Candy frowned slightly. The DNA test hasn't been done yet. I don't want to see you. This? Tang Big Bro was a bit embarrassed. Haha, aren't we going to do the appraisal tomorrow? Old man, why can't you understand? I told you to scram, didn't you hear me? After finding out about Bingtong's background, Xiao Xiao hated Boss Tang to the core. She was a person who dared to love and hate, and she wanted nothing more than to kick a heartless man like him to death. Boss Tang didn't know who Xiao Xiao was, but he heard that Qing was Bingtong's aunt, an elder of Ice Palace who raised Bingtang. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was only a golden class and didn't know how to hide. She was just a normal maid. Boss Tang naturally didn't dare say anything when Bingtang and Qing scolded him, but being scolded by a maid like this, Boss Tang was losing face. He was the head of the hidden Tang house, an Earth-class late-phase peak master. Being told to scram by a golden-class early-phase girl made his face turn ugly. I say, little girl, I'm the father of your palace master. Don't you think it's a bit rude for you to say something like that? She's my junior sister, the next Ice Palace master. Bingtang said faintly. Is there a problem with talking to you like that? Wah! Boss Tang was stunned. He almost choked to death after hearing what Bingtang said. Junior sister? The next Ice Palace master? Why was she only golden class? What was going on? Of course, if what Bingtang said was true, then even if Xiao Xiao, the next Ice Palace master, beat him up as a golden class, he wouldn't dare fight back. As if noticing Boss Tang's doubt, Qing explained. Xiao Xiao entered the Ice Palace less than a month ago, and was just a normal person before. But the Palace Master has already decided on her as the next Palace Master. She'll become a Sky class very soon. Cough. Boss Tang was even more shocked. Less than a month from a normal person to a golden class? What kind of speed was that? So fast? She really was the next Palace Master. Boss Tang said awkwardly. I'm sorry, young Palace Master, I didn't know, humph. Xiao Xiao humphed and ignored him. Go ahead, Head Tang. Qing said faintly as she gestured for the guest to leave. The results of the DNA test were out of everyone's expectations. What was supposed to be a sure thing turned into a dramatic change. Bingtong's DNA was similar to Boss Tang's, but it wasn't close enough to be inherited from a father and daughter. It was very similar to Elder Tang and Bingtang. In other words, Bingtang was a member of House Tang, but not Boss Tang's daughter. After hearing this news, Boss Tang's face turned green. He really wanted to curse that bitch Xiaoming. She actually hooked up with another man in House Tang. He felt guilty all this time. If he knew that Bingtang was a bastard, he wouldn't have needed to do anything to her and would have killed her. But now, even if he hated her, he couldn't express it. It didn't matter whether he was Bingtang's father or not. To Bingtang he was just a passerby. If he dared to do anything to Xiaoming, Bingtang would probably kill him with one slap. So, no matter how much he hated her, he didn't dare to say anything. After Elder Tang got the results of the test, he seemed to have aged a few years. He shouted, "Misfortune, misfortune. How could something like this happen?" Normally, when such a scandal happened in a family, the first thing they should do was to find the child's mother, Xiaoming, and ask her who the father was. However, no one in the hidden Tang family dared to do so. This was because Bingtang was standing behind Xiaoming. As long as Bingtang didn't agree, no one could force Xiaoming to do anything. Rock Candy looked at the appraisal report expressionlessly. Actually, to Bing Tang, it was enough that her mother was confirmed. As for who her father was, it didn't matter. Chapter 1631. In the entire Tang family, other than Tang Yuyu, Bing Tang didn't like anyone else. Although this was a family scandal, abandoning Bing Tang back then was already a huge family scandal. This kind of small matter wasn't a big deal. And Bing Tang didn't even have the intention to ask Xiao Ming. Since that was the case, it was even better. Regarding the hidden Tang family's attitude, it was even easier for Bing Tang to deal with it. She would treat the hidden Tang family as a family member. Without the restrictions of familial ties, Bing Tang felt much better. Just like the relationship between the common House Yu and the hidden House Yu, Bing Tang's relationship with the hidden Tang family was the same. Since she couldn't ask Bing Tang, she could only ask her own family members. In the hidden Tang family's meeting room, Grandfather Tang sat in the main seat with a fierce expression. He looked at all the members of the hidden Tang family and slammed the table heavily. Speak. Who did this back then? If you speak now, I won't pursue the matter, nor can I. With Sect Master Bing Tang's status, this matter can only be treated as a family scandal. But if I find out who did it, don't blame me for being impolite. After many years of accumulated power, Grandfather Tang's words carried enormous weight in the Tang family. So, after Grandfather Tang finished speaking, the members of the Tang family were very careful, not even daring to breathe loudly. Not speaking? None of you want to speak? Grandfather Tang waited for a long time. Seeing that no one spoke, he slammed the table and sneered. Fine, since none of you want to speak, then I'll have everyone do a DNA test. I want to see who did it. Of course, after Grandfather Tang finished speaking, no one spoke. They all lowered their heads in silence, each with their own thoughts. 7 asterisk. Fine, if that's the case, you call the doctor over and have everyone do a DNA test. Grandfather Tang said angrily. Yes, Grandfather. Tang Yuyu smiled bitterly. This was a situation he had never imagined. He never thought that his third aunt would give birth to Bing Tang with someone else. However, this kind of thing couldn't be talked about, so he could only follow his grandfather's instructions and find a doctor to do a DNA test on every member of the Tang family. After the doctor arrived, Elder Tang observed every single member of the Tang family. However, he realized that every single one of them were calm and collected. It was as if this matter had nothing to do with them. There was not the slightest hint of guilt on their faces. This made Grandfather Tang a little puzzled. What was going on? Could it be that Rock Candy was not their child? The results of the DNA test were quickly released, and just as Elder Tang had guessed, Rock Candy was related to them by blood. But when it came to parentage, she was not. These people were not Rock Candy's father. Grandfather Tang really had no other choice but to pass the news to Xiao Ming. Although he didn't say it explicitly, he hoped that she would tell him the truth. However, Xiao Ming felt wronged. Back then, she only had a relationship with Big Brother Tang. After that, she had Tang Tang. She had never had any contact with other men, so it was impossible for her to have an improper relationship with another man. Although the Tang family did not say anything, the way they looked at Xiao Ming was a little strange. When Xiao Ming arrived at the meeting room, she felt her face burning up. She really didn't want to come, but she had no choice. This matter was related to her innocence, so Xiao Ming had to explain herself. But how was she going to explain herself? How was Xiao Ming going to prove herself? Just as Xiao Ming was at a loss of what to do, a surprising person walked into the meeting room. Uncle Da, why are you here? Big Bro Tang looked at Uncle Dab as he walked into the meeting room. Although Uncle Dab was Grandfather Tang's trusted aide, he would never participate in a family meeting like this one. He was just a servant, so he knew his place very well. This old servant deserves to die 1,000 times. It's all my fault. After Uncle Da entered the meeting room, he knelt in front of Elder Tang and said, "Ah?" Uncle Da's sudden action stunned Grandfather Tang. They were just talking about Xiao Ming's matter. Why was Uncle Da here to join in the fun? Could Rock Candy be Uncle Da's child? That was impossible. Uncle Da was just a servant and had no blood relations with the Tang family. Not to mention now, even if there were a few generations back, the chances of this happening were almost zero. What did he do wrong? So, Elder Tang furrowed his brows and said, "Old Da, what kind of show are you putting on? What did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? We are currently discussing serious matters. If you made a mistake, can we talk about it later?" "Old master, please let this old servant finish." Uncle Da said, "What this old servant wants to talk about is the incident where third young master abused his daughter." "What? You know? Hurry up and tell me." Elder Tang hurriedly asked when he heard the reason for Uncle Da's visit. Yes. Uncle Da said, back then eldest young mistress ordered a servant to throw away Tang Tang. This old servant couldn't bear to do so. No matter what, she was still eldest young master's flesh and blood. If she was thrown into the snow, how could she possibly survive? So, this old servant thought of a way to protect this child. What do you mean? Explain it clearly. Elder Tang furrowed his brows. He felt that something was wrong. Yes. Back then, a member of the Tang family's side branch had also given birth to a daughter. They brought their daughter to the hidden Tang family to register her in the family tree. This old servant took this opportunity to swap Tang Tang with their child. The child that was thrown away was the daughter of the Tang family's side branch, not eldest young master's daughter, Tang Tang. Uncle Da continued, as for the real Tang Tang, she was probably brought back by the Tang family's side branch disciple and raised into an adult. Because newborn babies all look the same, they probably wouldn't have realized it was a mistake, so... What? After Elder Tang heard this, he nearly fainted. This meant that Rock Candy was the daughter of the Tang family's side branch disciple and not eldest young Master Tang's blood. In this way, it made sense why Bingtang's DNA matched most of the members of the Tang family. It was because they were related by blood. But this caused the Tang family to suffer. Originally, he was overjoyed to reunite with Rock Candy. That way the hidden Tang family would have a backer. But, from the looks of it, it was all for naught. This really made Elder Tang sad. This means that Rock Candy isn't my daughter. Then my daughter? Xiaoming was shocked after hearing Uncle Da's words. Target equals undercommit. Chapter 1632. Translator. Sparrow Translations Editor. Sparrow Translations. There was one more thing she didn't say. The DNA test could only prove that the child was a member of the paternal family. As for whether or not it was the child's father's, no one knew. It could even be the child's uncles or grandfathers. But saying this was asking for a scolding. As long as the DNA test proved that the child was a member of the family, everything else would be left to the family. But, she still reminded, for accuracy, it's best to let the child's father do it himself. Sure. Do mine first. Do the DNA test, Elder Tang said as he nodded his head. This time the results came out very quickly. It was now confirmed that Bingtang and Elder Tang's DNA were very similar. In other words, Bingtang was from the hidden Tang family. Although there was still a possibility that she was a member of the maternal family, the paternal DNA test had also come out. There was no doubt that Bingtang was a member of the hidden Tang family. Tang, it really is you. Xiaoming looked at the results and hugged Bingtang excitedly. But Bingtang's heart wasn't as excited as she had imagined. Instead, it was filled with bitterness. She didn't know how she was going to face this. She had acknowledged Xiaoming as her mother, but what about the hidden Tang family? Palace Mistress, may I take the liberty to call you my granddaughter? Grandfather Tang grinned from ear to ear. Sure enough, the Ice Palace Mistress was the granddaughter of the hidden Tang family. This was a piece of good news. I need some peace and quiet. Bingtang waved her hand and walked out of the hospital. Seeing Bingtang leave, Little Qing sighed and said to Elder Tang and Xiaoming, you guys go back to the inn and rest. Once the palace master has thought things through, she will come and find you. Because Bingtang's attitude wasn't clear, Little Qing didn't know how she was going to face the Tang family. So, her tone towards Elder Tang and Xiaoming was very polite. Good. Elder Tang thought to himself. There was an 80% chance this time, right? Seeing Little Qing's attitude, he knew that she treated the hidden Tang family differently. So, Elder Tang didn't rush her. He returned to the inn with Tang Yuyu and Xiaoming and waited patiently for news from the Ice Palace. Rock Candy's heart was in a mess. She hadn't seen her parents for almost 20 years. Now they suddenly appeared in front of her. Should she recognize them or not? Judging from how Bingtang treated the hidden Tang family, it was already good enough that she didn't cause trouble for them. However, when she thought of Xiaoming, Bingtang's heart softened. Her mother was innocent, everything was done by her black-hearted father. Hence, it was fine if they wanted to acknowledge each other. Bingtang only wanted to acknowledge her mother. As for her relationship with the hidden Tang family, she could let it go on account of her mother. But as for the young mistress, she had to scram back to where she came from. Xiaoming would be the young mistress from now on. This was the only right that Bingtang could fight for her mother. As the saying goes, even an upright official can't settle a family dispute. Although Bingtang was angry, she couldn't do anything to the hidden Tang family with her mother in the middle, so she could only fight for some benefits for her mother. Of course, he believed that if he really did acknowledge her as his relative, that young mistress would have no choice but to scram even if he did not say anything. In terms of backing, no matter how powerful the hidden family behind her was, it was nothing in front of the Ice Palace. The hidden level and the ancient level were not on the same level at all. Bing Tang sighed faintly. Aunt Qing, what should I do? Do I acknowledge her or not? Now, although she still needed to do a DNA test with Boss Tang, all the signs indicated that Bing Tang was from the hidden Tang family. This was an indisputable fact. Palace Master, actually, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. As long as Palace Master has the right attitude, it will be fine. Little Qing sighed and said, it's true that the hidden Tang family gave birth to you, but the Ice Palace raised you, so you don't have to be conflicted. Acknowledging your relative is just acknowledging an identity, but this identity doesn't mean anything. From what I know, many ancient sects and ancient families have secretly supported some hidden families and small sects as their eyes and ears and spokespersons. Hence, developing the hidden Tang family into the eyes and ears of the Ice Palace isn't a bad idea. Also, I can see that your mother is a kind person. When the time comes, we can just bring her to the Ice Palace to live, and she won't have to suffer in the hidden Tang family. That's true. Bing Tang was suddenly enlightened after hearing Little Qing's words. That's right, so what if she acknowledged her relative? It only represented an identity, and she didn't need to promise anything to the hidden Tang family. On the contrary, the hidden Tang family could become the eyes and ears of the Ice Palace. If she acknowledged her relative, the hidden Tang family wouldn't dare order her to do anything for them. This was just a way for them to show off to the outside world, so Bing Tang didn't mind. Isn't that it? It's always a good thing to have an extra pair of eyes and ears. Little Qing said. Alright, then we'll acknowledge her. Get that? Boss Tang here for a DNA test. Bing Tang still couldn't bring herself to call him father. After all, what Boss Tang did back then was worse than an animal. Alright, I'll talk to them. Little Qing nodded. This kind of small matter didn't require Bing Tang to make another trip. Little Qing could do it for her. Elder Tang didn't expect to receive news so quickly. Seeing Little Qing, he didn't dare to be negligent and said respectfully, "This Tang greets Elder Qing. May I ask Elder Qing about the Palace Master?" The Palace Master said to get young Master Tang here for a DNA test. If it's confirmed, then this marriage can be acknowledged, Little Qing said calmly. However, Elder Tang, don't think too much about it. Although the Ice Palace Master is part of the hidden Tang family, she isn't someone that the hidden Tang family can control. This Tang naturally understands. Elder Tang wasn't an idiot. How could the Ice Palace listen to the words of the hidden Tang family? His purpose here was only to acknowledge the Ice Palace. With this relationship, as long as the Ice Palace took care of the hidden Tang family, the hidden Tang family's meteoric rise was just around the corner. He wouldn't ask the Ice Palace to do anything because that wasn't realistic. It was the behavior of a fool. It's good that you understand. It wasn't easy for Rock Candy to say these words, but it wasn't a problem for Little Qing to say it. Also, the Palace Lord said that she really doesn't like that young master. As for Xiaoming's identity, you know what to do, right? These words were said in front of Tang Yuyu, but Tang Yuyu didn't have any inappropriate expression. He was an honest man and looked down on his biological mother's actions. He felt that it was not the behavior of a good wife, but that it was harming his father. Chapter 1629. Going out together. On the other hand, he admired Third Concubine's character very much. Thus, he had played with Third Concubine since he was young. His relationship with Third Concubine was even deeper than that of his biological mother. So, without waiting for Elder Tang to express his opinion, Tang Yuyu spoke first. No matter what, no matter how bad that woman is, she is still my mother. Elder Qing, do you think it's possible for her to switch places with Third Aunt? I've been close to Third Enyang since I was young, and I've always treated her like a mother. Third Enyang can prove this. Although Tang Yuyu's words were clear, he was actually telling Little Qing that his mother and Xiaoming's positions had been swapped. Since his residence had changed, his identity had naturally changed as well. It was just that he wasn't ruthless. I can prove this. I've brought Yuyu along to play since he was young. He has always been very fond and respectful of me. Xiaoming hurriedly added. Sure. Little Qing nodded her head. Then it's decided. When Boss Tang arrives, you can ask Xiao Li, who is also Manager Li, to contact me. Elder Qing, it will be this Tang's 80th birthday soon. Everyone in the Tang family will be attending, including my cousin's branch family. So, do you think the Palace Lord can also attend as a member of the Tang family? Elder Tang asked carefully. If that's the case, it won't be too late to do a DNA test when we get there. I can't make this decision. I'll ask the palace master first before giving you an answer. Little Qing didn't express her opinion, she just took note of it. Okay. Elder Tang nodded his head happily. Elder Qing, thank you. Little Qing waved her hand. Without saying a word, she turned around and left Elder Tang's room. Then, she floated away. After hearing Little Qing's words, Bing Tang hesitated for a moment before agreeing to Elder Tang's request. Firstly, she wanted to see the place where she was born. Secondly, she wanted to use this opportunity to go out and experience the world. It could be said that Bing Tang had spent the past 20 years in the Ice Palace and had never left it. News from the outside world came from the outer sect. She had never seen the outside world. So, Elder Tang's suggestion moved her. It wasn't because she wanted to give Elder Tang face, but because she wanted to go out and experience the world. Okay, I'll go. Bing Tang nodded her head. Go and reply to him. Since it's his 80th birthday, his family members can attend. If he wants to use this opportunity to show off his power and invite people from other families, I won't make an appearance. How smart was Bing Tang? How could she not know what Elder Tang was thinking? It was better for her to keep a low profile when it came to attending the birthday banquet. If the Ice Palace wanted the hidden Tang family to work for them, they needed to control the situation well. They couldn't let the hidden Tang family get overconfident and use the Ice Palace's name to do bad things. I understand, Palace Master. Qing nodded. I'll go see my little junior sister. Bring her along this time. She's new here and she's not used to it. I'm afraid she'll get sick. Bing Tang said. It was obvious that she cared a lot about Xiao Xiao. Okay, all right. I'll go talk to the hidden Tang family right now. Qing nodded and went back. Bing Tang, on the other hand, flew towards the peak of the mountain with the most energy. Xiao Xiao hadn't slacked off ever since she entered the Ice Palace. Other than eating and sleeping, she was here every day. She was one of the most hard-working people in the Ice Palace, but everyone understood the heavy responsibility on her shoulders. She was an inheritor, a very important person. She had to exist to open Sky Class Island. Senior sister? Xiao Xiao stopped and raised her head to see Crystal Candy standing not far from her. She paused. Why are you here? With Xiao Xiao's current strength, naturally she couldn't sense Bing Tang's arrival. Xiao Xiao, are you used to the Ice Palace? Bing Tang sat beside Xiao Xiao, not putting on any airs like a palace master should. It's all right. Xiao Xiao wasn't too happy that she couldn't see Lin Yi anymore, but thinking that this short separation was for the sake of a long life together, she got over it. I'm going out in a few days. Do you want to come with me? Bing Tang asked. Going out? To where? Can I go see Lin Yi, honey? Xiao Xiao asked excitedly. Bing Tang couldn't help but smile bitterly. This Xiao Xiao was acting like she didn't care before, but now she was excited after hearing that she could go out. But Bing Tang didn't want her to go see Lin Yi. To be honest, Bing Tang really didn't think much of Lin Yi's strength. He was known as the strongest under Earth class, but she wouldn't even look at him if he was the strongest under Sky class, let alone Earth class. Xiao Xiao would become an inheritor in the future, and she would have the chance to step into Sky Dao and reach that legendary level. At that time, Lin Yi's strength would be laughably weak in her eyes. Would she still be so attached to Lin Yi? But, according to Bing Tang's observations, it seemed like it was possible. The relationship between these two couldn't be measured by strength. Lin Yi was a mystic, but he joined the trial for Xiao Xiao, who had no strength at all, and he even offended people stronger than him. This proved this point. The two places are quite far from each other. I don't know if it's okay. If we have time, we can meet. Bing Tang didn't reject her junior sister's request. She was strict with others in the Ice Palace, but she couldn't be strict with this weird junior sister. Whether you were strict or not, the way she talked to you didn't change at all. Even when Rock Candy was with her, she unconsciously became a little neurotic. Sure. Xiao Xiao was very happy. I'm a golden class now. Lin Yi honey will be very happy when he sees this. Xiao Xiao's speed wasn't slow at all. In less than a month, she had become a golden class. This kind of speed could only be achieved in the heritage grounds with a special constitution and a special practitioner's arts. Bing Tang was speechless. The next day, Bing Tang, Xiao Xiao, and Qing left on their journey. With them was Elder Tang, Tang Yuyu, and Qing from the hidden house. At the same time, the hidden Tang family had finally received confirmation from Grandfather Tang and found out the purpose of his visit. Before, Elder Tang hadn't confirmed Bing Tang's identity, so naturally he wouldn't say anything. If Tang Yuyu really did get the wrong person, then things would get out of hand. Not only would Hidden House Tang be a joke, but the Ice Palace might even blame them. Chapter 1630, very confused, but now Bing Tang's identity was basically set in stone. Naturally, he would tell his family. Hidden in the Tang family, eldest Tang looked at his legal wife, Yu Xiaoxin, with a dark expression. He slapped her face and trembled in anger. You wastrel, you threw away Xiaoming's child back then. Look at you now, she's the Ice Palace's palace master. When she comes back, you'll be waiting for death. It's not just you, even your hidden house Yuxiixin will be finished. Yuxiixin covered her swollen face, not daring to say anything. She was arrogant, but that was because she had the backing of hidden house Yuxiixin. But now, hidden house Yuxiixin wasn't like an ant in the eyes of the Ice Palace. It was the difference between a tiger and a cat. So Yuxiixin didn't dare to say anything. She really regretted it a little. She should have drowned the child and not thrown him away. She didn't expect that the child didn't die, and even became the sect master of the Ice Palace. One could say that she didn't regret it even now. This woman was hopeless. You're the death of me. When the time comes, you can beg for mercy on your knees. Don't drag me down with you. Big Tang's first time acting tough in front of his wife. Now he was in trouble. Even if Bing Tang came back, Elder Tang would be fine and Xiaoming would be fine. The ones who would be in trouble would be him and Yuxiixin. Yuxiixin lowered her head and didn't say anything. She was also very afraid, but being afraid was useless. At this time, she could only think of a way to escape. I'll move into Xiaoming's room today and give this place to her, okay? I hope it won't affect our hidden house Yuxiixin. Yuxiixin said carefully. Then get lost. Big Tang's brother roared. Of course, in the entire hidden house Yuxiixin, other than Big Tang's branch, the remaining brothers were very happy. They didn't participate in what happened back then, so if Big Tang fell this time, they would have a chance to take over. However, unexpectedly, after Bing Tang came to live in the hidden house Yuxiixin, she didn't start a massacre. As for Yuxiixin, who had already moved into Xiaoming's cold courtyard, Bing Tang didn't bother with her either. It was as if she had ignored her. This made Big Tang heave a sigh of relief. Since Bing Tang could forgive Yuxiixin, she could definitely forgive Big Tang too. Tang, how is it? Are you used to this room? That night, Big Tang, accompanied by Elder Tang, came to Bing Tang's room, wanting to get close to her. Bing Tang frowned slightly. We haven't done the DNA test yet, I don't want to see you. Big Tang was a little awkward. Haha, we're going to do the test tomorrow? Why don't you understand, you old man? I told you to get lost, didn't you hear me? After finding out about Bing Tang's background, Xiao Xiao hated Boss Tang to the core. She was a person who dared to love and hate, and she wanted nothing more than to kick a heartless man like him to death. Big Tang didn't know Xiao Xiao's identity, but he heard that Qing was Bing Tang's aunt, an elder of the Ice Palace who raised Bing Tang. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was only golden class and she didn't know how to hide. One look and he knew that she was just a normal maid. Big Tang didn't dare say anything when Bing Tang and Qing scolded him, but being scolded by a maid like this, Big Tang's face was a little embarrassed. He was the head of the hidden Tang house, an Earth-class late-phase peak master. Being told to scram by a golden-class early-phase girl made his face turn ugly. I say, little girl, I'm the father of your palace master. Don't you think it's a bit rude for you to say something like that? She's my junior sister, the next Ice Palace master, Bing Tang said faintly. Is there a problem with talking to you like that? Tang Big Bro was stunned. After listening to Rock Candy's words, he nearly choked to death. Junior sister? The next Ice Palace master? Why was she only golden class? What was going on? Of course, if what Bing Tang said was true, then even if Xiao Xiao, the next sect master of Ice Palace, beat him up as a golden class, Boss Tang wouldn't dare fight back. As if noticing Big Tang's doubt, Qing explained, Xiao Xiao entered the Ice Palace less than a month ago, and she was just a normal person before. But the palace master has already decided that she will be the next palace master. She'll become a sky class soon. Cough. Big Tang was even more shocked. From a normal person to a golden class in less than a month? What kind of speed was that? So fast? She really was the next palace master. Big Tang said awkwardly, I'm sorry, young master, I didn't know, humph. Xiao Xiao humphed and ignored him. Go ahead, Head Tang, Qing said faintly, gesturing for them to leave. The results of the DNA test were out of everyone's expectations. What was supposed to be a sure thing turned out to be a dramatic change. Bing Tang's DNA was similar to Big Tang's, but it wasn't at the father-daughter level. It was very similar to Elder Tang's and Bing Tang's results. In other words, Bing Tang was a member of House Tang, but not Big Tang's daughter. After hearing this news, Big Tang's face turned green. He really wanted to scold Xiaoming. She actually hooked up with another man in House Tang and he felt guilty all this time. If he knew that Bing Tang was a bastard, he wouldn't have needed to do anything and would have killed her. But now even if he hated her he couldn't express it. It didn't matter whether he was Bing Tang's father or not. To Bing Tang he was just a passerby. If he dared to do anything to Xiaoming, Bing Tang would probably kill him with one slap. So, no matter how much he hated her, he didn't dare to say anything. After Elder Tang received the results of the test, he seemed to have aged a few years. He shouted, "Misfortune, misfortune. How could something like this happen?" Normally, when such a scandal happened in a family, the first thing they should do was to find the child's mother, Xiaoming, and ask her who the father was. But no one in the hidden Tang family dared to do so, because Bing Tang was standing behind Xiaoming. As long as Bing Tang didn't agree, no one could force Xiaoming to do anything. Bing Tang looked at the test report expressionlessly. Actually, to Bing Tang, it was enough that the mother was confirmed. As for who the father was, it didn't matter. Chapter 1632, Helpless Result in the Tang family. Other than Tang Yuyu, Bing Tang didn't like anyone else. Although this seemed like a family scandal, abandoning Bing Tang back then was already a huge family scandal. This kind of small matter wasn't much. And Bing Tang didn't even have the intention to ask Xiaoming. Since that was the case, it was even better. As for the hidden Tang family's attitude, it was easier for Bing Tang to handle it. She treated the hidden Tang family as a family member. Without the restriction of familial ties, Bing Tang felt much better. Just like the secular House Yu and the hidden House Yu, Bing Tang's relationship with the hidden Tang family was the same. Since she couldn't ask Bing Tang, she could only ask her own family members. In the hidden Tang family's conference room, Old Man Tang sat on the main seat with a fierce expression. He looked at all the members of the hidden Tang family and slammed the table heavily. "Speak. Who did it back then? If you speak now, I won't pursue the matter, nor can I." With Ice Palace Master Bing Tang's status, this matter can only be treated as a family scandal. But if I find out who did it, don't blame me for being impolite. After many years of accumulated power, Old Man Tang's words carried enormous weight in the Tang family. So, after Old Man Tang finished speaking, everyone in the Tang family was very careful. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. "Not speaking? None of you want to speak?" Old Man Tang waited for a long time. Seeing that no one spoke, he slammed the table and sneered. "Alright, since no one wants to speak, then everyone can go and do a DNA test for me. I want to see who did it." Of course, after Old Man Tang finished speaking, no one spoke. They all lowered their heads in silence. They all had their own thoughts. "Fine. Since that's the case, you call the doctor over and do a DNA test for everyone." Old Man Tang said angrily. "Yes, grandfather." Tang Yuyu smiled bitterly. He had never imagined a situation like this. He never imagined that his third auntie would have Bing Tang's child. But he couldn't simply speak about this matter. All he could do was follow his grandfather's instructions and call the doctor over to do a DNA test for every member of the Tang family in the conference room. After the doctor arrived, Old Man Tang observed every member of the Tang family in the conference room. He realized that every member of the Tang family was calm and collected. It was as if this matter had nothing to do with them. They didn't show any signs of guilt. This made Old Man Tang a little confused. What was going on? Could it be that Bing Tang wasn't their child? The results of the DNA test were quickly released. Just as Old Man Tang had guessed, Bing Tang was related to them by blood. But she wasn't related by birth. None of these people were Bing Tang's father. Old Man Tang had no other choice but to pass this information to Xiaoming. Although he didn't say it explicitly, he hoped that she would tell him what happened in the past. But Xiaoming felt wronged. Back then she had only had a relationship with eldest brother Tang. After that she had Bing Tang. She had never had any contact with other men, so it was impossible for her to have an illicit relationship with another man. Although the Tang family didn't say anything, the way they looked at Xiaoming was a little strange. When Xiaoming arrived at the conference room, she felt her face burning. She really didn't want to come, but she had no choice. This matter was related to her innocence, so Xiaoming had to explain herself. But how was she going to explain herself? How was Xiaoming going to prove herself? Just as Xiaoming was at a loss of what to do, someone walked into the conference room that surprised everyone. "Uncle Do, why are you here?" Big Bro Tang looked at Uncle Dab as he walked into the meeting room. Although Uncle Dab was Grandfather Tang's trusted aide, he would never participate in a family meeting like this one. He was just a servant, so he knew his place very well. This old servant deserves to die 1,000 times. It's all my fault. Uncle Da knelt in front of Elder Tang as he walked into the conference room. Ah! Uncle Da's sudden action stunned Grandfather Tang. They were just talking about Xiaoming's matter. Why was Uncle Da here to join in the fun? Could it be that Bingtang was Uncle Da's child? That was impossible. Uncle Da was just a servant and had no blood relations with the Tang family. Not to mention now, even if there were a few generations of them, the chances of this happening were almost zero. What did he do wrong? So, Elder Tang furrowed his brows and said, "Old Da, what are you trying to do? What did you do wrong? What did you do wrong? We are currently discussing serious matters. If you made a mistake, can we talk about it later?" "Old master, please let this old servant finish." Uncle Da said, "This old servant wants to talk about how third young master molested his daughter back then." "What? You know? Hurry up and tell me." Elder Tang asked as soon as he heard the reason for Uncle Da's visit. "Yes." Uncle Da said, "Back then eldest young mistress ordered a servant to throw away Tang Tang. This old servant couldn't bear to do so. No matter what, she was still eldest young master's flesh and blood. If she was thrown into the snow, how could she possibly survive? So, this old servant thought of a way to protect the child." "What do you mean? Explain it clearly." Elder Tang furrowed his brows. He felt that something was wrong. "Yes. Back then, a member of the Tang family's side branch had also given birth to a daughter. They brought their daughter to the Tang family to register her in the family tree. This old servant took this opportunity to swap Tang Tang with their child. The child that was thrown away was the daughter of the Tang family's side branch, not eldest young master's daughter, Tang Tang." Uncle Da continued, "As for the real Tang Tang, she must have been brought back to be raised by the Tang family's side branch. Because newborn babies all look the same, they shouldn't have realized it was a mistake, so—" "What?" After Elder Tang heard this, he nearly fainted. This meant that Rock Candy was the daughter of the Tang family's side branch and not eldest young Master Tang's bloodline. In this way, it made sense why Bingtang's DNA matched most of the members of the Tang family. It was because they were related by blood. But this caused the Tang family to suffer. Originally, he was overjoyed to bring Rock Candy back. This way the Tang family would have a backer. But, from the looks of it, it was all for naught. This really made Elder Tang sad. "This means that Rock Candy isn't my daughter. Then my daughter?" After hearing Uncle Da's words, Xiaoming was shocked. Target equals underthink. Chapter 1633. Old events. Rock Candy should be the daughter of the Tang family's side branch disciple, and the young master's daughter should be in that side branch disciple's house. Uncle Da said, "This. What should we do now?" Elder Tang suddenly felt a headache coming on. Did the cooked duck just fly away? The hidden Tang family's backing was gone? Wasn't this a little too unlucky? Why did this turn into something out of a TV drama? Elder Tang's expression softened quite a bit. At least he wasn't cuckolded. However, the next problem was even more troublesome. Rock Candy's parents weren't in the hidden Tang family. "Uncle Da, are you serious?" Grandfather Tang asked sternly as he looked at Uncle Da Bo. This was no laughing matter. If they were not careful, the hidden Tang family would be consigned to eternal damnation. "Patriarch, how could this old servant dare to lie to you about such an important matter?" Uncle Da smiled bitterly. "It's all this old servant's fault. Patriarch, please punish this old servant." "There's no need to punish her. If you hadn't changed her, Ice Palace Master wouldn't have been a part of the hidden Tang family, and this opportunity wouldn't have fallen into our hands." Elder Tang was an understanding person. This matter didn't have much to do with Uncle Da. Even if Uncle Da didn't do anything, at most, his child would have died, and Rock Candy would still be the daughter of the side branch of the Tang family. "Yes, Uncle Da, this isn't your fault. The most important thing right now is to think of a solution. What should we do? We've already invited Ice Palace Master here. We can't just tell her that you're not a part of the hidden Tang family, right?" Elder Tang frowned. "Who said I'm not? Even if she's a side branch disciple, she's still a part of the hidden Tang family." Elder Tang finally found a connection. How could he give it up so easily? Grandfather Tang's words enlightened the others present. That's right, Rock Candy's body contained the hidden Tang family bloodline. This was an indisputable fact. "Father, you're right. I think we should conceal this matter and let Bingtang think that she is Xiaoming's daughter. As for who her father is, we can just make up a story and let Xiaoming cooperate." Eldest Tang pondered for a moment and said, "Second brother, let's say that she is your and Xiaoming's child, right?" Second brother's expression changed slightly. However, as this matter concerned the Tang family, it was not appropriate for him to express his opinion. Instead, he looked towards Elder Tang. That's right, we must leak the news. Otherwise, without Xiaoming, why would Bing Tang recognize us as the hidden Tang family? Elder Tang said, so we must never let Bing Tang know about this. Otherwise, wouldn't our efforts to hide the Tang family be in vain? Grandpa, this is a big deal. I think that if we talk to the sect master properly, she will understand. How can we lie to her? However, Tang Yuyu put forward a different opinion. You also said that Palace Mistress Bing Tang is also the bloodline of our hidden Tang family. She will more or less help us. If we lie to her and she finds out the truth, won't she die of anger? Yu, what do you know? Eldest brother Tang was a little annoyed as he looked at his son. How could his son be so loyal? It was not like his personality at all. Even though he was intelligent and capable, he was too kind. How could he inherit the position of the family head like this? Tang Yuyu's face turned red from eldest brother Tang's scolding. However, he knew that his words carried little weight. His words had no effect, so he could only shut his mouth resentfully. As for Xiaoming, she was in a daze. If Bing Tang wasn't her daughter, then where was her daughter? Furthermore, why was Bing Tang related to her by blood? This series of questions caused Xiaoming's mood to drop. In this family meeting, she had no say in it. Listening to everyone speak, they were all concerned about the benefits of the hidden Tang family. As for the whereabouts of her child, none of them had even asked. Alright, it's decided. Everyone in the hidden Tang family, listen up. Do not reveal a single word to anyone. Elder Tang said sternly. From now on, Bing Tang will be second brother and Xiaoming's daughter. Clang. A loud sound rang out. Just as Elder Tang finished speaking, the door to the conference room was kicked open, turning into a pile of sawdust that fell to the ground. Rock Candy was currently standing at the entrance of the conference room with a cold expression. She looked at Elder Tang coldly. Who can you not reveal this to? Seeing Bing Tang's cold gaze, Elder Tang broke out in a cold sweat. Even though he was a heaven-rank early-stage expert, he didn't dare to act rashly in front of a heaven-rank late-stage expert like Bing Tang. He didn't expect that his words would be heard by Bing Tang. At this moment, he remembered that Bing Tang was an expert at the peak of heaven-rank late-stage. With her divine sense, it was too easy for her to eavesdrop on the contents of the Tang family's meeting. And with Elder Tang's strength, he wouldn't be able to sense that someone was eavesdropping. Previously, when Elder Tang held the family meeting, he didn't consider this factor. That was why he neglected Bing Tang's existence. On account of Andy Xiaoming, I won't kill you. Bing Tang looked at Elder Tang coldly. As for the hidden Tang family, I know what you guys are planning. You just want to borrow the power of the Ice Palace, right? Very well, I'll satisfy you. Any Qing, tell them. Even though Bing Tang looked cold, she wasn't really angry. Especially when she heard that she wasn't Boss Tang's daughter and that she wasn't abandoned by her parents. Instead, she was swapped without her parents knowing. As a result, the knot in Bing Tang's heart of hatred towards her parents was instantly resolved. Speaking of which, Bing Tang really had to thank Uncle Dove for telling her the truth. Otherwise, even though Xiaoming was a kind person, she wouldn't be happy for the rest of her life if she had a father who was worse than a wolf and a dog. But now, everything was fine. All that was left of her with the hidden Tang family was that little bit of blood relation. Bing Tang could calm down and let little Qing speak openly with the hidden Tang family. She wouldn't have to feel burdened to have the hidden Tang family become the eyes and ears of the Ice Palace. However, there was still one question that Bing Tang hadn't answered. Why was her DNA so similar to Xiaoming's? She was born from a side branch of the Tang family. It was normal for her to have the Tang family's blood in her body. But she also had Xiaoming's blood. That was a little strange. Target equals _ blank. Chapter 1634. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Furthermore, Xiaoming indeed looked very similar to him. What was the reason for this? Could it be? She suddenly thought of a possibility. Xiaoming said before that she was chosen by Boss Tang when she accompanied her brother-in-law and sister to the Tang family to register. Then, could her real parents be Xiaoming's sister and brother-in-law? In that case, wouldn't Xiaoming be his aunt? The more she thought about it, the more likely it was. Otherwise, how could there be such a coincidence in this world? At this time, little Qing was already discussing with Elder Tang about letting them be the eyes and ears of the Ice Palace. Although the outcome was a little different from what Elder Tang had expected, it was still a good thing. The fact that Bing Tang didn't start a massacre or leave was already a blessing in disguise. What else could the Tang family ask for? In fact, the hidden Tang family also knew that the Ice Palace just wanted to find a spy, and the hidden Tang family just happened to be there. If they really said that they were related to Bing Tang, it would be too ridiculous. They were just collateral relatives. The hidden Tang family had many branches, and they didn't really like collateral relatives. Who are my biological parents? After little Qing and elder Tang finished talking, Bing Tang looked at Uncle De Bo and asked coldly. Uncle De Bo trembled in fear and didn't dare to hide anything. He said in a trembling voice, "They are from the Tang family. The man is called Tang Juqing, but I can't remember his wife's name. You have to check the family records." What? Tang Juqing. Before Bing Tang could say anything, Xiaoming exclaimed. What's wrong? Everyone turned to look at Xiaoming, and Rock Candy also asked in confusion. Xiaoming? Auntie, you know, this Tang Juqing, who is also my father. He is my brother-in-law. Of course I know him. So you are my niece? Xiaoming exclaimed. No wonder Bing Tang looked so similar to her. She was actually Bing Tang's aunt. And her own child was actually brought back by her sister and brother-in-law to be raised. Thinking of this, Xiaoming relaxed. Her child was with her sister and brother-in-law, so nothing should happen to him. Although her sister's family wasn't rich, they could still live. Thinking of her brother-in-law, Xiaoming felt extremely guilty. It was reasonable to say that marrying into the hidden Tang family should have brought a lot of benefits to her sister's family. However, not only did she not bring anything, her own life was also miserable. For so many years he hadn't contacted his sister and brother-in-law. He didn't know if they were doing well. Just like the old saying goes, once you enter a wealthy family, you're as deep as the sea. It's hard for me to even contact the outside world. Hearing Xiaoming's words, Bing Tang was also shocked. Although she had this feeling in her heart, she was still very surprised when the truth came out. However, she already had a good impression of Xiaoming. Thus, she gently called out, Auntie. Sigh. Although Xiaoming hadn't seen her own child yet, she was very happy when she thought that Bing Tang was her niece. She replied happily. Old Tang wanted to join in the fun and use his identity as an uncle to get close to Bing Tang, but seeing that Bing Tang didn't even care about him, he couldn't help but feel awkward. In your hidden Tang family, only my auntie and this cousin Tang Yuyu are considered human, right? Bing Tang said faintly, the others are like pigs and dogs. Although Rock Candy's words made the Tang family furious, they didn't dare to say a single word. Elder Tang had a bitter expression on his face as he thought to himself. Luckily, Tang Yuyu had put in a good word for Xiaoming and Rock Candy. Otherwise, Rock Candy would probably have already left. Tang Yuyu was a little embarrassed as well. Hearing Bing Tang call him cousin, he was surprised and happy, but also a little awkward. He didn't know how to respond and could only stand there awkwardly rubbing his hands careful. How can they be like pigs and dogs? Pork can be eaten but they can't. Xiao Xiao interrupted. I think they're worse than pigs and dogs. Pfft. Qing almost burst out laughing at Xiao Xiao's words. Xiao Xiao's words were too funny in a situation like this. The hidden Tang family was furious as well, but they didn't dare do anything to Xiao Xiao, the future sect master of Ice Palace. She might be weak, but she was Bing Tang's junior. Auntie, come to my room and talk to me. Bing Tang held Xiaoming's hand, not giving any face to the other Tang family members. Xiaoming hesitated but left the meeting room with Bing Tang. Old Tang and the others could only sigh as they sent them off. In the sect master's room, Bing Tang held Xiaoming's hand intimately. She wasn't her birth mother, but she was her auntie, someone very close to her. She'd lacked family since she was young, so naturally she was very happy at this moment. Sect Master Bing, what do you think of the hidden Tang family? Xiaoming asked carefully. Auntie, just call me Bing Tang. What's Sect Master Bing? That's what outsiders call me, you don't have to be so polite with me. Bing Tang said quickly. Alright then. Xiaoming felt close to Bing Tang from the bottom of her heart. She'd been like this since the first time she saw her, so she nodded. I don't want to do anything to the hidden Tang family. Here I only recognize you, auntie. At most, that Tang Yuyu can be considered my cousin. As for the others, they're just vassals of the Ice Palace. Bing Tang said faintly. Don't worry, auntie. I won't do anything to them. It's just a partnership. Your birth parents, do you want to go and meet them? Xiaoming actually missed her sister and brother-in-law quite a bit. It had been so many years and she didn't know how they were now. More importantly, she missed her own child. Meet them? Bing Tang sighed. She'd been thinking about this for a long time. Should she meet them or not? If she did, then what about her auntie's daughter? Was she supposed to return to the hidden Tang family? To be honest, Bing Tang didn't want her auntie's daughter to be here. Here, she'd rather be the daughter of a normal family. Also, Bing Tang didn't want to destroy that family. If Bing Tang's parents found out that their child wasn't raised by them, but by someone else, then this peaceful family would be destroyed. That wouldn't be fair to that child. Target equals underscore blank.